Here we go. That live show, draft show for The Athletic. Subscribe to The Athletic, by the way, if you haven't done that yet. What's wrong with you? Subscribe to The Athletic. I'm Zach Harper. We got Dakhil. We got Sam Vecenie. There's some rumors that Jay King's going to break in. There he is. There's Jay King. The kid is here. I said on the Point of Contention podcast, one of 400,000 people from Massachusetts that calls themselves the kid. That's Jay King. And we'll be with you, I don't know how long, until we kind of get sick of it, I guess, at some point late in the first round. But we're going to be here dropping knowledge all night. I will be here unless a trade happens, and then I got to write about the trade. Sam is going to be simultaneously giving us information here and writing on the website, grading trades and giving analysis of all the picks so far. And so we've got an agreement that Lakers and Wizards have that Russell Westbrook trade. So even though we've got Cade Cunningham to get to, we've got Jalen Green to get to, we've got all this draft analysis. Let's start off with this trade of Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, and number 22 in exchange for Russell Westbrook, the 2024 second-round pick, and the 2028 second-round pick from Washington. And so Mo, let's start with you. In terms of Russell Westbrook to the Lakers, it's weird. I don't know if it's bad. I kind of like it. I've got grades up on that on The Athletic right now, if you guys want to go check out that analysis. The idea is that the Lakers cannot score when LeBron James is not on the court, right? Even if Anthony Davis is up there. So they tried to get Dennis Schroeder. They tried to get Montrezl Harrell, and they're like, hey, this will help. And it never helped. And now they're like, all right, what if Russell Westbrook fixes this? So in theory, it should work as long as, you can stand having three possibly non-shooters on the court.
I mean, not possibly non-shooters. I mean,
LeBron can shoot every once in a while,
Okay, so like every 5 games. We're going to get really excited about it. I'm intrigued like you. I also think this is a very high risk, high reward type move.
For sure.
My only thing when I just look at everything is I'm really concerned defensively. Because Russ isn't playing any defense. He might pretend to, but he's not going to be playing much. LeBron's getting up there in age, and he's not really a lockdown guy, right? At most, he's coming in at help. A lot of stuff's going to be relying on AD kind of coming in as the rim protector type guy for them. Their center situation has not really panned out. And so it's along those lines where I look at it going like scary, but also we've seen LeBron do stuff with a lot less talent on a roster. And I'm kind of always afraid of just like betting against LeBron. So my thing is, if anybody can make this work, it probably is LeBron James.
But here's the thing. LeBron has always excelled the most when he has shooters around him. And adding Russell Westbrook, who not only is a non-shooter, he's one of the most disruptive shooters in the entire league. He's definitely going to shoot.
Yeah, he's definitely going to shoot.
Who not only does shoot and can't shoot, but will do so in key moments when LeBron and Anthony Davis should have the basketball. I think this is such a bad fit. And obviously there's a talent upgrade to Russell Westbrook that may make that okay. But I just think if Buddy Hield was an option, that's such a better option to actually maximize LeBron James and Anthony Davis, which should have been the goal of the Lakers all along. And I just don't love Westbrook. Actually, I hate the fit of Westbrook on that Lakers team.
Yeah, I mean, until Buddy Hield gets mad that he's not getting more shots than Anthony Davis, and then starts pouting, and then
he got mad about that in Sacramento, though. Not when LeBron and Anthony Davis are the ones.
Well, Sam, what do you think of Russ on the Lakers?
Yeah, I think that they're going to be a monster in transition now. It's a weird juxtaposition of styles now, right? Because Russ is at his best playing up tempo now. LeBron is at his best playing down tempo now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's going to work. I think it's going to be kind of weird at the end of the day. And I'm not necessarily convinced that it's the best thing for them in the playoffs. I think in the regular season, they're probably going to wreck teams. But in the playoffs, I worry about what their half-court offense looks like whenever these games slow down. On top of it, the thing that worries me most is that this is kind of their all-in move now. They have very little flexibility. If they would have gone and gotten a Buddy Hield, you can move Buddy Hield if it doesn't work. That contract is not terrible. And then on top of it, you would still have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as a piece to move around a little bit. You would have your assets and you'd have your contracts in more bite-sized pieces, which makes it a little bit easier to maneuver around. With Russ, I mean, this is a negative contract and it's all in one piece. So I think it's going to be harder for them if this doesn't work. And it's definitely a high risk, high reward thing. If this doesn't work, I think they're going to have a harder time maneuvering around.
You guys are too negative. No, man, I'm in. You know what? I'm sick of this. I'm not the biggest Russell Westbrook guy, but I think that there is something to, if you can sign 2 shooters, right? If you can sign 2 shooters relatively cheaply to put out,
it's going to have to be very cheaply given the salary cap constraints.
Maybe. All right. So whatever. You want to chase a ring. If you can sign a couple of shooters to add to the roster, there is something about like there's going to be so overwhelming athletically and physically that it might work. And also, all right, let's not act like Dennis Schroeder can guard anybody. Okay, it's not like they downgraded defensively here.
Schroeder plays hard. Schroeder is a pest.
At what? Schroeder's not good. He's not
Jay,
good.
you got to stop. He's not a pest. He's not a guy.
He is a pest in the sense that you'll get mad at him.
But what you do lose though is that, you know, and I'm sure Zach will hate this part, but you know, Kyle Kuzma did improve defensively last year. You're losing another guy.
No, for sure. No, he's a good defender now. Yeah,
he's improved defensively on that end. KCP, another guy that can defend and things like that. You're losing those guys on the wings that kind of help you out defensively. But one thing
those guys matter a little bit too.
You know, but one thing we should also kind of think about, because we're saying like the Buddy Hield thing's dead. It's not really. I mean, there's still a possibility, probably slim, but this deal can't fully be completed until August 6th. There's still a possibility they could find a way to make this a 3 or 4 team deal and find a way to get Buddy Hield. But we've seen these type of things happen before. And, you know, now if you're looking at a team with Westbrook, Hield, LeBron, and AD, now it's a little bit different.
All right.
We have can we talk about that, though? To do that, though, the Kings have to take back Dennis Schroeder in a sign-in trade. And why in the world would they take back Dennis Schroeder in a sign-in trade whenever they already have De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton?
I said 4 teams. I didn't just say Sacramento. 4 teams. I don't know who the 4th team would be.
Guys, let's get to this draft real quick because things just got shook the hell up. So, funny enough, I heard from someone last night that the Toronto Raptors were not crazy about Jalen Suggs, which I thought was insane, but whatever. I'm a big Jalen Suggs guy. And according to Shams Charania of The Athletic, Toronto is selecting Scotty Barnes out of Florida State with the number 4 pick. So maybe this means a trade is going to be in the mix, or maybe this is just the type of dude that Toronto likes. But we have Cade Cunningham, number 1, predictable. We have Jalen Green, number 2, to Houston, predictable. We had Evan Mobley to Cleveland, number 3, predictable. Sam, with Scotty Barnes going number 4 over Jalen Suggs, at least it looks right now, to Toronto, what the hell's happening?
So I am not totally surprised because, as I believe you wrote in your mock draft as well, this is like something that has been going around, that the Raptors genuinely thought that Jalen Suggs, Scotty Barnes, Jonathan Kuminga, those guys were all kind of in the same tier of this draft class.
Right.
It's not really a huge shock, I don't think. I mean, I think it's a dumb move because I think Jalen Suggs is going to be a star. I think that he should have gone number 2 in this draft realistically, but I am not totally surprised. There are enough NBA teams that really believe Scotty Barnes is going to be able to score the basketball in a way that he just didn't do at Florida State. And I think that in large part, they think he can do it because the Florida State system tends to hold some people back a little bit.
Florida State does always have like 6 10-point per game scorers and nobody above that. This is a bad draft choice though, man. Jalen Suggs is so good and so athletic, and he can get into the paint against anybody. And he's so competitive that I would bet on him. I just think this is a big mistake going Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs. I think Barnes is going to be good. Like, he's huge.
I like
he can
him
defend.
A lot.
He has some passing ability. If he becomes a scorer like guys think he might, he's going to be very good in the NBA. But I just think Suggs has a chance to be special. And so at number 4, especially for Toronto, where you could use a point guard with Kyle Lowry probably going somewhere else, and you could use an uber competitor like Suggs. I just think this is a bad decision.
So Sam, Toronto has a type, right? Like big guy, big wing, super long arms, defensive. Like they've got, now Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam. In terms of the type of player, it makes sense they like Scotty Barnes, right?
Yeah, it totally does. But the other thing about what they like is they like crazy competitors who can do a lot of different things on the court, who are versatile. And that's Jalen Suggs. So like there was a case for it kind of both ways. And at the end of the day, I think that this is a mistake. You always go with the perimeter guy at the end of the day. Oh my God.
We joked before we went live that Perk was going to call Cade Cunningham the next LeBron James. I didn't see Evan Mobley as the next Bill Russell. I got to be honest.
No, that one was big.
That's a new one for me. But
Did you see,
that's bigger than Scotty Barnes at 4. I'm sorry.
Did you see Perk earlier say that Cunningham is the best prospect since LeBron James? Kevin Durant was a pretty good prospect. Pretty good prospect.
I mean, like,
so was the guy who went number 1 over Kevin Durant.
Greg Oden.
Yeah. Mo, maybe you should just say things to say them. Okay. Maybe you should do that, Mo, and we'll see how that works out for everybody.
I can totally start doing it. I mean, are you kidding me? Scotty Barnes? What are we talking about, guys? This is the next Kevin Durant. I'm glad you brought him up, Jay. This guy can do it, everything that KD can do and better.
That was a little bit of a mispronunciation though. Kevin Durant is an actor that was in the movie Primo with Nick Cage. That's who Mo was talking about there, not Kevin Durant.
I feel like you watch a lot of bad movies, Zach. Why?
I do. It's on this podcast called Cinephobe, a podcast where Amin Al-Hassan and I review movies that are poorly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. We try to ascertain whether or not they're properly poorly rated, or maybe they didn't get a fair shake. That's Cinephobe, produced by Anthony Mays.
I
podcasts.
I just won my bet. I had the under on 14 minutes in that you get a Cinephobe
14 minutes is way too high. I'm going to do it like 8 times before 14 minutes.
I'm shocked he didn't start the show with it, to be honest.
But, I thought about it. So Mo, all right. Mo, what about the idea that the Raptors may be saying, hey, we have our point guard. We have Fred VanVleet. Like that's our point guard. We're going to roll with him as the lead guard. And then we've got all these super athletic big wings to fill things out and make it super versatile.
Well, it's interesting because the league is becoming really, if the more wings you have and the more versatility you have, it goes a long way in that sense. And in the East, when you're looking at the guys you do have to defend, you're going to have to defend Kevin Durant or Durant, whoever you want to talk about, Zach. You're going to have to worry about.
Both are good. Both are in good shape. Yeah. Kevin Durant's got guns, man.
You got the two wings in Boston with the Jays, and the guy will have to deal with Jay King afterwards in the press conferences. But you have wings all over the league that these guys are going to have to defend. So your philosophy is a little bit of, hey, we're just going to load up on a ton of wings and we'll figure out the rest later. And, with Fred VanVleet, I'm assuming they're going to be re-signing Gary Trent Jr., restricted free agent, all that. Like they feel like that's going to be their backcourt. We're going to just roll from the wings from there.
All right, Sam, we've got the number 5 pick is in. It is Jalen Suggs to the Orlando Magic. They've got, RJ Hampton and Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony, but this is a no-brainer once he falls there, right? Like he's so good, and he's the exact kind of lead guard they haven't had, I'll just say, since Penny. Like they really haven't had a dude this good at point guard since Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Jalen Suggs, I think
DJ Augustine just got so much disrespect.
Yeah, and then missed a jumper.
So I'll say this. I had been hearing since the, rumors that Toronto was considering Scotty Barnes, a little bit of Jonathan Cuminga, everything like that. I kind of reached out and tried to see, okay, if let's say Toronto passes on Jalen Suggs, is he definitely going to go 5 to Orlando just to make sure? And I was told Orlando loves him and is like super excited about Scotty Barnes falling. And, just given the fact that a team passed on him, that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes when these guys fall, they fall for a reason, right? I don't think that is what happened here. I think that at the end of the day, Toronto just likes Scotty Barnes's measurements and attitude and defensive intensity. And Orlando is the beneficiary now of exactly what they need. They need a guy who can be a primary scorer and a primary playmaker. I see Markelle Fultz more as a, bottom half, bottom third of the league starting point guard. I see Cole Anthony as a 6th man. And RJ Hampton's a wild card, but I think that Suggs can play with all of them because he's so good at playing on and off the ball, because he's so good defensively, and because he's such a good passer and scorer. It's just a versatile player who has star upside, who fits with all of their guys. It's a perfect fit.
Yeah, it's funny the Markelle Fultz part of it, because it was such like a nice like, hey, he's back, he's done. He shot under 40% from the field last year, right? He was better than what we saw in Philadelphia. He was way more confident. He was trying things, but Jay, like, they still need a lead guard. Like, Fultz isn't the full-time answer. I think RJ Hampton's probably going to be more of like a scoring guard off the bench than like a full-time point guard, but I do like him. Cole Anthony, again, probably more of a backup guard in this league. Could be a really good backup guard, but he showed some flashes here, but Suggs is the guy.
Yeah, Suggs is the guy. Now they need to find scorers somehow around him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because he played probably with better scorers at Gonzaga than he will his rookie year in Orlando. And that to me will like decide how effective he is, because he can get in the paint against anyone. He's going to be a very good passer. He's going to be a very good defender, I think, at the point guard position. But when you have a dynamic athlete like that and you have very little floor spacing, then it can be very difficult. And so I want to see how his transition to the NBA takes place in Orlando. I think if he was in Toronto, it would have been a lot easier for Suggs to be efficient right away. But he's going to be up there for Rookie of the Year, would be my guess.
Man, I love Scotty Barnes, but Sam, I'm not going to get over this. I think this is such a mistake. I get that they weren't in love with him after the visit and the workout and stuff, but I just can't imagine, like, because I was with you that when I first saw the draft door, I was like, I know Jalen Green's going to be amazing and he's super marketable and he's really fun. But if I'm looking for a leader and a lead guard, not that Jalen Green can't be a leader, but like I want Suggs. Like I want a lead guard who knows how to lead right away.
Yeah, and worries me with Scotty Barnes is, what do you do with him on offense right now? You can't really use him as a spacer. You're not going to use him as like your lead guard. You already have Fred VanVleet. And frankly, like I feel more comfortable with the ball in Pascal Siakam's hands than I do in his.
Sure.
So Scotty Barnes will be like a grab and go transition playmaker, passer. He can get out and score. But I mean, Scotty Barnes right now doesn't really create offense for himself all that well. He wasn't as elite as a finisher as you would think for someone with his athleticism and his length. On top of that, you can't really space him into the corner because he can't shoot yet. Like Scotty Barnes just cannot shoot right now. And then what are you going to play him as, like a small ball five? Like maybe this is what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to play super small. They're going to play Siakam, Barnes, and Anunoby across the front. And it's not going to actually be that small. It's going to be more of a modern offensive and defensive hybrid scheme. It's really interesting. It's hard for me to take a guy that I don't think is as good of a scorer inside as what his measurements say. I don't think really has an in-between game as a scorer and can't shoot from distance right now. Like that's kind of what it comes down to for me.
Sam, he's the next Willis Reed. I don't know. What are you doing, Sam? I don't know.
Oh boy. That doesn't even make sense from a player comp standpoint.
And like, here's the thing though. Like I've had Scotty Barnes at like number 6 on my board the whole way. I love.
Yeah, you've been high on him for a long time. Yeah.
I think he is awesome. I think he's going to be an incredible like 5th starter on a title team. Probably, honestly, I think he's going to be really, really good. It's just hard for me to imagine passing on a guy that I think is going to be an all-star level guard for that,
But it's, the thing too, is he would have fit so perfectly in this opening they're going to have. We all think Lowry's gone. He would have just kind of been able to slide right in, it just kind of look at it going like, okay, now we just need to find a center in free agency. And we're set, and this is our team, and we could build with, and we're turning it over to Fred VanVleet and Siakam, and we're building a cast around them. It's just now it's almost too much duplication a little bit. It's just getting a bit weird with what they're doing. I think they overthought it here a little bit.
I also think it is like, look, I think we're all bringing up great points, but Jay, is it intelligent to question Masai Ujiri? Is that it? Like maybe he's not going to be there long term. We did have we had a comment that's saying he's going to the Knicks next year, which I don't know to do what, but maybe play point guard. But maybe we shouldn't be like Masai and Bobby Webster have pretty good track records with this stuff, and maybe we should believe like they see something that we don't.
Maybe Masai's going to Orlando and he just wanted Jalen
there you go. Gotta take that over. I like that. Let's start that rumor.
No, but
look at Jay playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
But seriously, this is to me just a bet that Scotty Barnes has a lot that he wasn't able to show at Florida State. That he will develop as a shooter, that he will develop as a scorer, that all the holes that he had at Florida State, and he does a lot for you. Like, he is going to be a piece that you can switch. He's going to be a piece that defends. He is huge. Like that dude is physically imposing. And so I like a lot of what Scotty Barnes brings. I would be surprised if he's not at least a good NBA player. And so from that perspective, if you get a guy like that at number 4, you're probably good with that. But I just think they passed on a guy that is going to be special. And that's where I have a big issue with that pick.
So Sam, we've had oh no, we've got another perk alert. I don't know what he said. Or maybe that was just Mo saying that he's the next Willis Reed. Is it? What did he say? What do we got? Oh God, Scotty. I mean, all right, Sam. Is Scotty Barnes the next Draymond Green?
So here's like a rule that I have in comps with NBA draft prospects. I don't compare anyone to Draymond Green. Draymond Green is one of the 5 smartest basketball players to ever play basketball. That is setting someone up for failure to do that.
Yeah, that's probably a smart rule of thumb right there. All right. The percolate is killing me here.
Comps in general.
Well, there it is. There it is.
I mean,
style of play.
Like you get kind of scared. Like, see, people were saying Cade Cunningham's like Luka Doncic. Yo, Luka Doncic was a pro in the Euro League. Hold on. And it's like you're just putting all this undue pressure on this dude. In 3 years, is he going to be an MVP candidate? Like, I don't think so. Like, that's what Luka is. It's not fair to do this to the kids.
This entire draft is upside down because now Shams Charania is telling us that Oklahoma City Thunder are taking Josh Giddey, the Australian giant guard. What was he? Adelaide, maybe? I can't remember Sam where he played.
Adelaide,
but what the hell's going on here?
So
I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this. This is
I don't know if we're allowed to swear either.
Yeah,
one's gonna come out of my mouth for sure. So
I'm gonna start drinking at the end of the lottery, and then it's gonna.
I mean, if Perk keeps
really
coming out with some of these things, we're all gonna be swearing.
Here we go. We got Jade. We're clear. Okay, so I will tell you this.
Jade's the voice of reason here. Yeah, by the way.
I will say on the Giddey front, I heard in just being over here in Australia, right? I had heard maybe in April, March, the months blend together at this point, that Oklahoma City really liked Josh Giddey. I did not hear that again for a while. And if you look at Oklahoma City's general, draft history, they do tend to kind of shut guys down and not have them work out other places. Giddey was actually pretty easy to do that with because he's been with the Australian national team in Las Vegas the whole time. So I'm not like crazy shocked by this either. It's certainly not something I had in my mock draft. It's certainly not, what I'd been hearing necessarily. But Josh Giddey is a really good prospect. He's a incredible passer, one of the most creative players, one of the most high feel players in this class. It's not a total stunner to me.
Well, all right. So here's where I'm surprised. I thought I also heard that the Thunder were high on Giddey, but I thought that meant, all right, you package 16 and 18 and maybe a second round pick, you move up, into, I don't know, that 9, 10, 11 territory, or at least this was before the Memphis trade. And then they go and grab him with their second first round pick of this draft, their second first round pick of this draft. Not, well, you got Cuminga on the board, you got Bouknight on the board, and you got all these other guys on the board, and now Giddey, like Sam, compare Giddey to a Cuminga or a James Bouknight.
Yeah, just a totally different player, right? James Bouknight is a bucket getter. Jonathan Cuminga is like your traditional big wing who has potential to be a shot creator and defender, who didn't really do either this year with the G League Ignite, unfortunately. Josh Giddey is a 6'8" playmaking, like, guard, let's call him, He played point guard for Adelaide this year. He led the NBL in assists as an 18-year-old. But what worries me a little bit about Josh is I see him more as like a secondary playmaker as opposed to a primary, because his handle's a little bit high and he's not a crazy athlete. I wonder how he's going to be able to put pressure on defenders by getting 2 feet in the paint and then being able to use all of that ability to warp the defense with his passing. So on top of that, the jumper, I think he's going to shoot it long term. I do think it's probably going to take some time for him to shoot it though. So it's just it's an interesting pick for sure.
Mo, I guess if you're going to have a dude like that needs some time to develop a skill like shooting, OKC is a good place. It's very low pressure. Like, they're not going to win for a while. They're taking a very slow tanking approach, even though they don't call it tanking. That they're doing this. And so maybe Giddey does make sense there next to a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who can also handle the ball and run some of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think him kind of coming into the league as a secondary playmaker with Shai there, it kind of works out pretty well. But this is it's everything you said, Zach. Like, it's Oklahoma City, such a low pressure situation. It's all about development. And we've seen them develop these guys, pretty well. Look at the improvement in Lugens Dort. Look at Moses Brown before they traded him to Boston. They are focused on development because they know it's not free agency for them, right? It's going to be, can we make these young guys better? And it's going to be interesting because now we have some sort of duplication as well with like Alexei Pokashevsky and all of those things. Like, you got to start figuring out who you're going with. Like, I think what Oklahoma City is going with is like, we're just taking the guys we think are the very best in the long-term future, and whatever shakes out. Like, we'll move guys if it doesn't work out and things like that. We have abundance of picks and things, all these things. They're just taking swings right now. And, they're going to be right sometimes. Some of them we're just going to be like, wow, that was a crazy pick.
So Jay, we just had the comment, and I need you to also comment again, Barry, a baller 18, if this is a compliment or not. He just said Cuminga seems like the small forward version of Wiseman. I like Wiseman and I like Cuminga, but it didn't sound like a compliment. So please let us know if that is actually a compliment. But Jay, what do you think of the shakeout of these last 3 picks? Because these last 3 picks have been a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, this is where the madness begins. It began a little early. I did not think Suggs was going to fall past number 4, even though people talked about that being a possibility. I didn't actually think that was going to happen. The Giddey thing is interesting to me. I mean, a 6'7" point guard, that can be very, very useful. And I happen to think that passing can often be the most overlooked skill in a player. And
I thought you were going to say overrated. I was going to say same.
No, for him to be a 6'7" with that type of creativity, that type of ball skills, he could have a very, very high upside. And like you guys said, for the Thunder, it's all about upside. It's all about bringing in guys. They don't really have anyone right now who will necessarily be a part of their long-term future. With Gilgeous-Alexander, there's a question of whether they'll be, on the same trajectory as he is and whether they'll keep him around. With all the other guys basically on their roster, I don't know what to think of Poku. I got to be honest. Like, I there are times where I get it, and times I'm like, what the hell are you guys thinking? There's like 2 or 33 times per game where you're like, oh, Poku, and then the rest you're like, yo, Poku. You're like, Poku. I think Poku's got a chance, but
it's almost like
they are definitely not in a situation where they have to draft for need, or let's put it that way. They are drafting for
sure
talent, for upside, and they see it in Giddey.
Yeah, Mo, it's almost like sometimes he makes you do the hokey Poku and turn yourself around on your opinion on him. No, that's no good. Okay, we'll keep moving on. Don't worry, guys. There's a screenshot with everybody right there. It looks like the Golden State Warriors are taking Jonathan Cuminga. Sam, Cuminga was like a hot name at the start of the G League bubble, and he was, I mean, I don't know how real the idea of him being the number 1 prospect was, but people were high on him. And so what's happened to kind of lessen that? Is that about the other guys being good, or is there something with Cuminga?
Yeah, I was on Ryan Russillo's podcast earlier this week, and I kind of relayed a story. I was talking to an odds maker, like someone who sets draft prop lines, probably in December or so, about what I think the lines should look like if I was handicapping the number 1 overall pick back in December. I said Cade Cunningham should be like minus 400, minus 500, like should be very, very high. You want to try and not try and dissuade picks on him. I said Jonathan Cuminga should be number 2 at that time because I thought the upside of him was pretty real. And I'd heard great reports coming out of Walnut Creek where the G League Ignite program was training. It just didn't happen in the G League this year. I mean, his defense was absolutely terrible. It was largely a question of effort a lot of the time, as opposed to actually being willing and to sit down and be in the right positions defensively. He was a really poor, just rotational defender off the ball, and he didn't shoot it. He shot like 29% from 3 or 25% from 3. So it just kind of fell off, and it was a very a swift drop from being thought of in the same class as some of these top 4 players to where he ends up falling to number 7 with Golden State.
He's a crazy athlete though. And he does seem to have, while the shooting wasn't there, and I don't know if the shooting's going to be there anytime soon, but he does seem to have a really good skill set for getting shots, right? Which is good. That's key. Yeah. But knowing which shots to then get, that's kind of the next evolution of that. And then it's making those shots, right?
Yeah, totally. He has the kind of game to where he's going to be able to create shots. He can get to that, step back, pull up in the mid range pretty easily. But the question is he going to make them, right? Like that's kind of what it comes down to. And I think that I have some questions about that still. The upside is real because of his athleticism. The upside is real because he has all sorts of length and potential. I'm surprised they went this road, but they did make a ton of crazy player development hires this summer in Golden State and totally revamped that part of their coaching staff. So it's not a surprise because I knew that they were considering it, but it's to have both him and James Wiseman on this roster is going to be interesting.
I think to me, I think with evaluating a guy like that, it's so much about what has he done, not just in the G League, but before that. Because what did he play? 13 games in the G League bubble against pros, against guy in a very tough situation for a young kid like that to be in. And he showed flashes. I think the most interesting skill to me about him is for a guy his size with that much length, that much athleticism, he can really pass. And I like that about him. And I think, in the right situation with Golden State would be a situation where he doesn't have to do too much except make the right play and play defense a little, get Draymond on him a little bit, get that defensive tenacity up.
He's got a good teacher.
Yeah, and then the other thing is he could be on the move because Golden State could absolutely trade him, trade the number 14 pick, trade Wiseman. They could trade anything for an upgrade soon.
Can we put to bed the notion that Draymond's this great teacher? He was supposed to teach Jordan Bell. It didn't work out. They
were 5th in defensive rating last year.
He taught Andre Iguodala, man.
Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Kelly Oubre Jr.
Great. Draymond's great.
He's not great enough to make those dudes defend.
He made Andrew Wiggins defend last year.
Yeah,
right, but
he's
it's not
good.
We keep assuming that every time a guy gets drafted there, Draymond's going to take him under their wing and they're going to be these great defensive guys. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't, guys.
Right, but also maybe comparing everybody to Jordan Bell's not a good idea either, right? Like maybe say, well, it didn't work with Jordan Bell, so we're not going to believe in it.
It's not like it's been that great with Wiseman, though, defensively. I still feel like he has ways to go and that stuff. And for the Warriors, no, but here's the thing, Zach. For the Warriors, when you're looking to contend right now, like those guys all want to contend, this isn't a pick that makes me, even with the guys you left out there, this isn't a pick that makes me go like, oh, you've got much better. You have a real chance in the Western Conference this year. Like I look at this and I'm just kind of going like, what, you guys are going to go through trying to develop him. This is 3 or 4 years from now where he's going to be something.
Well,
gotta trade him.
What? No, I don't think you do. Like whatever that is, like there was no one, unless they were going to trade up for Cade Cunningham, they weren't going to draft anybody that makes them a contender in the West. Like,
No, but
what's going to make
like,
them a contender in the West is Clay being Clay again. That's the only thing that's going to be there. Or you trade all these dudes for a superstar, like if Bradley Beal decides he wants to be available and in the Bay. But I think they took the best player available in Kuminga. Like,
but he's
and
not
I don't
a guy
think
that can give you minutes right now, though, right? Like, is he a guy you could? Sam, you tell me.
Kelly Oubre last year, like the bar is so low. The bar, like Kelly Oubre's not good.
All right, well, Sam, tell me right now though, like Moses Moody, is he a guy you could look at? Was Book Night a guy where you also need scoring? We're hoping Clay's going to be Clay, but you also need some scoring. We saw that was a big problem. Every time Steph was off the court, they couldn't make a bucket for the life of them because they were playing Kelly Oubre and those guys. Like, what are we going there with these? Like, what was there somebody else that you thought they could have picked that could give them immediate minutes?
First, Sam, comment on the perk alert, with which I guess he just said Kuminga is Jordan Bell. So Mo and
we got a perk
are
alert
on the same page. I don't
know if that's it from me, man. Stop stealing
we got
from
a perk
me.
alert. Disagree on perk here. Jordan Bell had no ability to create his own shot, really. Jordan Bell.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, man, I love it.
Look, so to take, let's just ignore that. I don't know if we can, but
we'll come back to it. We'll rank the perk alerts by the end of the night.
What are we talking about?
Let's start writing them down. Hold on.
So, on your point regarding whether or not Cuminga is going to play this year, right? There's a lot of overlap between what he does and what Andrew Wiggins does. And if you're not planning on moving Wiggins in a deal of any sort, and if you're planning on moving Wiggins in a deal for a star with Jonathan Cuminga, there is quite a bit of overlap there for teams looking to acquire both of those guys or for the Warriors looking to play. I thought that if they were looking for someone, and this is who I ended up mocking Franz Wagner there, because his ability to pass, to potentially shoot, he's a little bit streaky right now, and to make defensive reads, I think it's going to allow him to get on the court just way earlier than Jonathan Cuminga. I think we're going to see a little bit of Santa Cruz this year for Cuminga, and that's fine. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world for him to develop his game, and I think there's still a lot of upside here. But I also think they probably could have gone with someone else if they wanted an early playing type of guy.
So I just want to make sure we're all up to date on what the news is tonight. Not that Franz Wagner is going number 8 to the Magic. We'll get to that in a minute. But so far for perk alerts, I have Cade Cunningham best prospect since LeBron James. We had Evan Mobley equals Bill Russell. We have Kuminga equals Jordan Bell. Am I missing one, or is that all of them so far?
Was there not one earlier, guys?
Was there Scotty Barnes one or something?
Yeah, Scotty Barnes was
Draymond, right? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. All right.
Keep us honest in the chat too if we've missed one.
Yeah, if we've missed a perk alert, please let us know because I've got this thing muted, so I'm relying solely on
important.
you guys here.
Yeah,
I'm more interested in this than the draft now. I'm sorry.
I'm definitely going to be drinking soon. I'll tell you that. Okay, so what about Franz Wagner to Orlando? Jay, he's a 3-and-D guy who didn't really shoot the three all that well, although enough smart people seem convinced he'll make shots. I mean, grabbing him and Jalen Suggs, I feel like is a good first 2 picks of this draft so far.
Yeah, I mean, Suggs is obviously the big one for me. Wagner does not project to be a star in my eyes at all, but as far as getting a role player who knows how to defend, who has a lot of length and size, and who could probably one day be a shooter, like, he's a guy who should fit in just about any situation, and especially in Orlando with now Suggs, he should be a guy who should help him on both ends of the court.
Isaiah, you got to be kidding me. He did not say that. Hold on. Did Perk actually say that the Lakers are Westbrook's team now? I'll write it down, but I do not lie to me.
Please get us a video.
Because this is the problem, is you guys could type anything into this chat right now of what he said, and I'm going to believe it, okay? So don't mess with me. Do not mess with me on this. I don't know if Suggs equals AI is Al Jefferson or Allen Iverson. I don't know what that is right now, but I go, okay, now I feel like the commenters are just screwing
Andre
with us.
Iguodala.
Maybe Andre Iguodala. Mo, what do you like? Do you like the Franz Wagner pick so far?
I like it.
Wow.
I just think everything they're doing. Allen Iverson for Perk. Right. Oh, Wow, wow. Okay, a new perk one. This is great.
Okay.
No, I like
Good
it.
Lord.
Perk is stealing the show.
He is. He's really
stealing our show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've been locked in the perk. No, I like it for Orlando, and to kind of just piggyback on what Jay said, which already annoys me because I'm agreeing with Jay. So far, they've nailed it with their 2 picks. Just adding for them, they just need to start adding talent. Like when you look at Orlando, which I know is your favorite team, Zach, when you look at them, it's like I don't have a sense of what are they, and
Right.
They basically said they got rid of all their talented guys.
Right. Now I do actually like them. They don't have that dead ass, terrible core anymore of Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Vucevic. They can actually try to build to win some games now.
Right. But now you have a centerpiece though with Jalen Suggs, right? Like you have a guy that this is our guy. Everything else now has to work around him. And I think that's something they tried it with other guys, didn't work out. I think now getting the chance to reboot, great start for them in sort of the rebuild opportunity.
Yeah, Sam, what do we think about Wagner as a shooter? Like, because the percentage was what, like 31% as a freshman, 34% as a sophomore, but he is a good free throw shooter, which is typically an indicator that you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, pretty streaky right now. I think he needs to improve his overall shot prep a little bit. I think he'll be fine as a shooter. I'm more actually like this. I'd heard Orlando with Wagner throughout the process. I thought that was like a pretty real possible outcome. The Kings just took Davion Mitchell.
That is confusing.
That's an interesting one.
Bleep right there, because you have De'Aaron Fox and you killed it with Tyrese Halliburton last year, right? Great pick to fall to 12. Mitchell?
Just setting up
Mitchell, but
they're loading up on point guards, just setting up my Dennis Schroeder sign and trade, Sam. They're loading up on point guards.
It's like the Timberwolves under David Kahn. Back again.
Yeah, that's always the comparison you want to hear. That's
Davion Mitchell, the manna from heaven.
My text messages right now in the last 3 minutes. Wow with 3 W's. What is happening with the Jim Halpert GIF?
Yeah.
And another wow.
Now, Sam, are those in regards to the picks or the perk alerts? Do you know what
that was the Davion
Okay.
Mitchell pick? Was that one? This is not one that I had even remotely heard. Everyone out of Sacramento had kind of been telling me, or anyone who talked about Sacramento to me, kind of thought that this would be one of Alperen Şengün or Franz Wagner, who was obviously off the board here. I'm surprised because Monty McNair comes from more of an analytics background with the Houston Rockets. And if you've looked at any of the models, if you've talked to anyone within analytics departments within the NBA, Davion Mitchell does not really feature that highly because his shooting is a bit of a one-year wonder so far. And I think he's going to shoot it. And I actually really like Davion Mitchell. I had him as a top 10 player in the class because I think that someone who has his kind of competitiveness and aggressiveness and work ethic, those are the guys that kind of break aging curve models. And I think he is someone that's probably going to break the aging curve model and be a starting caliber point guard. But man, this one took me by surprise.
Well, because I had heard this kind of the same things you heard from Sacramento, right? Like Franz Wagner, who maybe because he's off the board, they're like, all right, this is our next, highest rated guy. But I also heard Şengün was kind of the dude. And considering they don't have big men, right? Like Rashawn Holmes is going to be a free agent. Like I can't imagine he's going back to Sacramento. Maybe I'll be wrong on that, but I can't imagine he's going to re-sign in Sacramento. Maybe Şengün's not your big man of the future, but it doesn't seem like Marvin Bagley is either. So this feels like the opposite of a need.
I did not want to hate the Davion Mitchell pick because I love Mitchell. I love his game.
Yeah, so do I.
I love his toughness. I love how much better he got in college. I love that nobody can keep him out of the paint. I love so much about Davion Mitchell. I just have no idea how he fits into what Sacramento is building. And it doesn't make sense to play him with Fox. It doesn't make sense to play him with Fox and Halliburton for sure. Like what is the long-term vision there? Or is there no long-term vision because they're the Kings?
Well, they're the Kings. So starting with that.
Right.
But I think one thing that might have been intriguing for them was he is a good defensive guard, right? Like they don't have any defense in their backcourt from there. Yep. So that's my, I'm trying to think of like, okay, what do we need? This guy plays defense. Let's go draft him. I don't like the pick for Sacramento either. I'm just trying to come up with the reasoning as to why. And it's, that's probably
here's the reason. They're the Kings, all right? Like you could change the coach, you could change the executives, but they're still the Kings. Like you can't unkings the Kings.
I will say this. I'm a little bit worried about the pairing of De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell together just because they're very small.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I would imagine Davion's going to have to guard up the lineup onto bigger wings in that case.
For sure, yeah.
And certainly he's going to have to guard up the lineup. Like he's 6'2" with a 6'4" wingspan. He's probably going to be the guy that's guarding the threes in those 3 point guard lineups they play with Halliburton and with Fox, because Halliburton isn't strong enough to deal with them yet.
Weren't they just one of the worst defenses in history? And now they're going to get even smaller?
The worst defense in NBA history.
Bad. But he can guard.
That's not hyperbole.
You can't be that small. You can't.
I mean, by the way, we have another pick that's fun.
Okay, hit us with it.
Zaire Williams at 10 to Memphis.
So that's the reason they traded up. Is Zaire Williams maybe because Giddey's off the board at that point?
Yeah, I would imagine it had to do with the fact that Giddey and Wagner is another name I heard there.
Right, yes.
Are off the board. I love it, actually. I would have had him very high on Memphis's board, and the reason for that is the thing that they need more than anything right now is a big wing shot creator who can create his own shot off of pull-ups. Zaire Williams can do that. He is 6'9". He has great body control. He has a ridiculous step back pull-up game. They need a big shot creator next to Ja Morant, who I don't feel super great about at the end of shot clocks. Maybe Zaire Williams works. Maybe he doesn't work. Like he might end up being out of the NBA within 5 years, but Memphis should trust their development system because it's been so good so far. And they also have so many veteran younger players at this point,
right?
Like Xavier Tillman, Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton. Yeah, these guys are in their early 20s, but they're older and mature guys that can step into rotation roles right now and have already done so. So I have no problem with them taking this risk. I had Zaire Williams as a top 15 guy. I love it. I absolutely love it for the Grizzlies.
They also have so many great athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Like adding him to Ja Morant, to Brandon Clark, to a lot of the Jaren Jackson. Like they just have a lot of mobile guys with length who can run and jump. And in Zaire Williams' case, hopefully do a little scoring at the end of a shot clock. So yeah, I like this fit for Memphis a lot.
My issue with Zaire Williams, so I do like him a lot. I like guys that can create at his size, is I don't like his jumper. I think it's a weird low release, and I don't like that for guys trying to create space. Now, it doesn't mean they can't fix it. It doesn't mean he can't get it off because he is super quick. He can handle the rock, and he's very athletic. So I can see what you're saying about that step back because I think he'll create the space there. But with a low jumper like that, you have to create so much more space. And that's my concern is that, all right, now you've added another dude who I don't think can shoot. And I know their shooting was probably better than you expect last year as a team, but I don't know that I trust it. Like I never want Dylan Brooks to be like one of my main outside shooters, you know?
Well, I think the thing is they're going to take a step back this year. I think that it's very underrated how important Jonas Valanciunas was to their offense because again, Ja Morant is not a great end of shot clock guy right now. Jaren Jackson is best running off of screens, running off of movement, back cutting, creating shots that way. Jonas Valanciunas, getting him on the block, off of a seal, off of a pick and roll or something like that, or, as a post up, hitting that little, turnaround jumper that he can hit, or just bullying someone down into a hook shot. That was actually kind of a big part of their offense last year.
Yeah, it was.
And without that, I think they're probably going to struggle to score points. And I think they're probably going to struggle to score points because Zaire Williams is probably not going to be ready to play this year.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think if we're looking at the long game with Memphis, which I think we should be now, because none of their young guys seem particularly unhappy there. None of their young guys seem like they're at risk of asking out. I think they're in a good spot. I think it's fine to take a long range view with this pick and go with someone like Zaire Williams. Now we'll see what they do in the offseason.
I think they're betting on Jaren Jackson Jr. having a healthy year. You know, when you kind of look at the way he kind of came into it last year, really late into like April, you know, it was just sort of like last year was just kind of a throwaway year for him. I think they're just betting on when they made that trade and sent Valanciunas off, you know, I think they're just saying like, hey, it's your turn, Jaren, go to work, you know? And I think it's a scary bet. We don't have much to really rely on. I'm sure they're seeing stuff and they're confident in it. And along everything you said, Sam, about their development program, I think they're just ready to say like, hey, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to rise if we're going to keep giving the ball to Jonas Valanciunas. You know, we got to give him more touches and more opportunities. And I think maybe that's what they're betting on.
He's got to be on the floor, though. That's the thing, right? Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is great. Like, he's legitimately going to be a great big man, but he's got to play. That's my concern with it. It's just like he hasn't been healthy or even close to healthy at this point. And so, like, look, you can't necessarily just worry too much about health and not try to get pieces and everything. But if Jaren Jackson Jr. is not healthy, then like they don't have a choice but to take a step back at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, we solved that. So there we go.
That one ended on a whimper.
Right there. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know,
we need a perk alert.
Yeah, we need a perk alert. We have the Charlotte Hornets are about to select. Did we get word of we're getting James Bouknight? It looks like is going to be the pick. He had been rumored to go as high as 6 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I love Bouknight. He's a scorer.
You would love
shooter. He's he's everything
Zach
people
Harper
hoped Malik Monk was gonna be, right? Like
this dude, he's a bucket.
Yeah,
don't insult him.
Unfortunately, it's an empty bucket, but you're right. He is a bucket. I think with Bouknight, like the dude's super athletic. I think he's got crazy bounce. He's quick. He can get anywhere. I love the way he adjusts. I love the speed he goes at. I love that he is not afraid to shoot the ball no matter what the situation is. Like, I'm all in on James Bouknight. I love the pick of putting him next to LaMelo. I love the pick of putting him next to Miles Bridges and PJ Washington. I just love this Hornets team.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a Hornets shirt on. I'll be right back.
I just
big Mason Plumlee guy over here.
Yeah, it made the trade to get Mason Plumlee, you know, and kind of try to fill their center spot, although that's still yet to be determined with Plumlee. But just exciting league pass team, right? And everything that goes along with it. But Sam, you're the one that knows more about Bouknight than me, so go ahead and let everybody know what he's going to bring.
Yeah, I think Zach did a really good job kind of laying it out. He is a real scoring threat at the end of the day. That's what he does best. He can string together 4 or 5 counters off of reading defenders and can just find a way to separate away from defenders in a really terrific way. On top of that, I think he's the best finisher at the rim among the guards in this class. His ability to extend and finish, his ability to hang in the air, he's not quite like an elite leaper by NBA standards, but he's definitely an above average leaper who will throw down some very high level dunks. I'm a fan of this pick. I think that they could use a real secondary scorer long-term next to LaMelo Ball. It makes sense to me. I like it.
I think he's a gamer too. Like, it's not just that he's a scorer. It's that he's tough.
That's all you need.
And he can manufacture those tough buckets in addition to like the like pull step backs, stuff like that. The thing to me about him that's going to really decide whether he's great in the league or maybe inefficient is a 3-point shot. He shot like 29% his sophomore year at UConn. And some of that is shot selection. Some of that is the way he's guarded, but he has a lot to prove as far as his shot. And it looks smooth. It looks like it should go in a lot more than it did in college. And we could look back and it's like one of those Bradley Beal type things where everyone said he was a great shooter. And I think he shot like 32 or 33% at Florida. And yeah, he turned out to be a great shooter. But Bouknight like has to do that too, to get that at least to a respectable number, 35, 36 or something like that, to be a great scorer in the NBA.
I'm offended. You guys thought I was going to a bathroom break when I was literally just going. I have like 2 NBA shirts. It's this and it's a Seattle Supersonics shirt. And I was once book night was gone, I was like, I might as well put the shirt on. I almost wore it for this whole thing. I'm offended that you guys thought that
you
I
can
wouldn't
get offended.
Announce. Didn't know I could get offended. I know. There you go. And so this James Bouknight pick should be celebrated. And what I like about this is, all right, Malik Monk did have a good year, right? He finally had a good year in the NBA.
Bucket. Give
but
him his
he's
respect.
also the contract year, right? Like the Hornets of all franchises could get tricked into like, shit, we need to like re-sign Malik Monk because he's good now, right? And we've invested all this time in him. With Bouknight, like you don't need to do that. Like you don't need to do that. And I think he can play right away. Like Terry Rozier is going to be a free agent after this coming season. He had a great year, but you maybe don't want to invest in him long term with all this. Like I just think this gives Charlotte so many options to score efficiently moving forward. I believe in his jumper. I do feel like I was about to make the Bradley Beal comparison in terms of didn't go in college. We have a perk alert. What happened? What's the latest? It's just like it.
Got one?
It's the only thing I will allow to derail
That's
a
it.
point.
He was just standing Moses Moody.
What is that? But
that was the most disappointing perk.
Well, we don't know how he did.
Moses Moody is one of the 5 prospects that Perk has seen this year because he did the Clutch Sports Pro Day. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's look at the idea of Zaire Williams over Moses Moody, and
Sure.
and James Bouknight over Moses Moody. Sam, like what is because Moody seemed like he was really gaining momentum here over the last week or so to be 8th to Orlando, even as high as that. So what's the issue with Moody versus these guys?
It's just not as athletic, doesn't have that explosiveness that NBA teams look for, doesn't have that ability off the bounce in the way that James Bouknight does to be able to go get his own shot in a creative way on an island against NBA length and athleticism. You know what, though? Moses Moody, at the end of the day, this guy can knock down threes, and he's a very high-level defender at 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan.
Yeah.
I ended up with Moses at number 7 on my board. I really like him a lot. I understand why teams are worried. I do think the upside is a little bit muted, but I don't know. Like I think that that's where teams are kind of falling back on Moody. And in regard to like Zaire Williams, right? I think it's a situation where Memphis just needs to take a swing.
Another perk alert.
Another perk alert? We just had one.
We just had one.
Right.
I think
Was that a false
is that
alarm?
just the end?
This is a false alarm. Okay, it's a false alarm. There we go. Oh my God, Jade, you got to be careful with that perk alert. You can't just, it's like throwing us a DEFCON 2. Like you can't do that. Like that's a lot.
With Memphis, I think it just is a case where they need to take a swing on upside with a high-level shot creator. And at the end of the day, Zaire Williams is a really good swing to take. I would expect Moody's going to come off the board in the next couple picks. That'd be a surprise if he didn't.
So we just had one of the viewers say Kai Jones to the Spurs, calling it. I love Kai Jones. I thought like he's one of my favorites on my big board. Like I think that he should have been considered for the Kings at 9. Like I'm in on Kai Jones. What's the drawback to Kai Jones?
Low feel for the game right now, kind of on both ends of the court. Doesn't really know how to make passing reads. I wouldn't feel super comfortable with him running like high-level dribble handoffs yet. I wouldn't feel comfortable with him in short roll scenarios yet, making the right 4-on-3 reads. And then defensively, it's all over the map. I mean, he is an incredible athlete. Like if you can get the right coaching staff in there to be able to teach him where he needs to go and what he needs to read and how he needs to read it, he could be a legit switch defender out onto like slower point guards and better wings. And then on top of it, could also be a legit weak side rim protector, but he needs to get stronger on top of it. So I think that there's a lot there that he needs to kind of work through to reach his athletic ceiling.
Do we have another perk alert, or is this another?
We got a
Perk wants the Spurs to take Day'Ron Sharpe.
Okay.
All right, Sam. Like Day'Ron Sharpe might be a solid prospect, like a good backup big.
What he just said is only like slightly crazier than what the Spurs actually did.
All right, what did the Spurs do? What do we got
They
here?
took Josh Primo.
No. Wow. So Josh Primo is like an end of first round, early second round guard. Like I like him. I didn't like him at 12.
That one, I don't even know what to say about that. Like I get it that he is a real shooter at 6'6". Like I think he's going to hit 38, 40 from three probably. He has some ability off the bounce, and he is a real tenacious mindset that you can project defensively at some point. I mean, he didn't do anything like that this year at Alabama. He was basically just a spot up guy, and that was kind of it. This is like the typical, he had to have gone there for a workout and the Spurs just like fell in love move, because there's no real, at least on tape, there is no real reason to take him at 12.
So these are things that I've heard, and maybe some are smoke screens or whatever, but like I heard that Derek White and DeJounte Murray are gettable, right? Like it's like the Spurs are open to moving them. They're not actively shopping them, but they're open to moving them. If that's the case, and they feel like they're moving they're losing DeMar DeRozan in free agency, then I get the idea of taking a guard, taking a wing, trying to get some new blood in there, and maybe you like a guy. But I just feel like this is a trade down move.
Yeah, it just makes the most sense. If you're really in love with this guy,
you could have gotten him in the 20s, man. Like that's
you could have gotten 19 and 21 from the Knicks. You could have. I mean, they wanted to jump up. Like there's just so many teams that are looking for an opportunity to jump up
Hawks
into the
wanted to move
lottery.
Up. Yeah, Hawks wanted to move. You could have gotten Cam Reddish in 20. I don't know. Like I'm sorry, I'm broke. Like my brain broke. I don't understand it. Spurs are
I'm always a fan of taking a guy who's like the 5th or 6th best player on his college team, 12th overall.
Yeah,
that's a nice move. But he is young. He is young, and he does have upside. But it's going to take a while to be realized.
Can I ask Sam a question?
No,
Sam, who is your best? Thanks, Zach. Who's the best player available to you right now?
One of Moses Moody or Alperen Şengün.
Can we talk about Şengün? What?
Yeah.
Tell us about him, just because we haven't really heard much about him.
Yeah. So elite numbers over in Europe this year. He played in Turkey, which is probably the second best domestic single country league over in Europe, at least the second most lucrative, let's call it. Discounting Euro League, discounting Euro Cup, Adriatic League, all of those multi-country leagues, right? The Turkish league is very strong. And he won MVP of that league at 18 years old this year. He has incredible hands. He has incredible touch around the basket. He has great feel for where to sink into space and be able to get his shot. The question is defensively, what do you do with him? Because he's a bit undersized. I think he's more between 6'10" and 6'11" than like the 6'9" that he's been reported as. That's a little bit small even still to be a center though, especially when you don't have elite length. And on top of that, he doesn't have great quickness. So I think teams are trying to figure out, where do we put Alperen Şengün on the court defensively that works essentially.
We have another pick in. The Indiana Pacers are going to take Chris Duarte out of Oregon, another guy I love. Shooter, scorer, guard. Love Duarte. Like I think that this kid can hoop. I actually thought that until they moved up, I thought Memphis was, or until they moved up to 10, I should say. I thought Memphis was going to try to key in on him because I love the idea of him on that team. But Duarte, like I think he's one of the best shooters in the draft, one of the best scorers in the draft. And you know me, I love me. I think we had Dave DeFore in our private chat mentioned Marshawn Brooks earlier. I loved Marshawn Brooks at the time too, man. Like we got some legends here.
Of course you did. You've got a type.
Yeah, I have a type. If you shoot the ball, like I have a type for sure.
All shots.
Doesn't even matter if you make. Just shoot the ball.
No. You do have to make. You need to make a decent amount or miss with flair. If you miss with flair, I'll forgive it.
Hey, Chris Duarte isn't like that shot happy. He took like 11 shots a game this year. Like it's not like Marshawn at Providence chalking up like 40 shots a game. Yeah, no, I really like Chris Duarte because he's a 40% 3-point shooter who defends at a high level and can step into a rotation spot immediately. The Pacers certainly are under pressure. That front office is at least to win games now. And a guy like Chris Duarte just makes a lot of sense for them, I think, especially if they end up not moving this pick. Throughout the week, I'd kind of like been told to watch for that, that they've been very active within trade discussions. But having decided that they didn't find a deal that was suitable, apparently, Chris Duarte makes total sense for them. He will slot in as their probably third guard this year and be very, very good.
He's such a Pacers pick. Like,
he is a
such
Pacers pick. Yeah.
pick.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Jay.
Like, he's not gonna be a miss as a prospect. He's just gonna be a solid NBA player. I don't think he'll be a lot more than that. Yeah. But it was a very Pacers pick. Like, let's take the safe pick at number 13 and get someone who can help.
Well, Jay, I'm curious, like, what do we do with this Pacers roster at this point? Because man, like, obviously Nate McMillan got a raw deal. Nate Bjorkgren did not. Nate Bjorkgren was hated like pretty quickly in the process. Like, there's some Bayline vibes there. So, we got a little bit of that. But in terms of like what they have, okay, you have some real scoring power, Sabonis and TJ Warren when he's healthy, coming back from that foot, Karis LeVert, Malcolm Brogdon, like they have some dudes that can score, but it doesn't also feel like a great offensive team. Duarte will add to that a little bit, but I like their individual pieces. I don't like them together.
If they had one premium creator, it would make everything look so much better, because right now Brogdon is that guy for them, or LeVert is that guy for them, and they're both capable of making plays. But it's not like they can break down a defense and pick their poison and really dissect you. If they just had one of those guys, every other piece on that roster would fit so well, from Sabonis on down. But they are that guy away.
I mean, that's unfortunately that was supposed to be Victor Oladipo, right? And then he gets hurt, and then that everything goes into a tailspin. Then now, and that's kind of the danger of just building around the one guy. Now, like, with that situation where you lose Oladipo to an injury, then eventually trade him and everything that goes on to it. Now the team is just a whole bunch of role players, a whole bunch of guys that look great. And as you said, Jay, just need that one dude. And I mean, obviously Duarte is not that guy, but I don't know how they get that guy. And that's really kind of my biggest question.
Can we play a game with the last two players to be picked? So Josh Primo and Chris Duarte.
Yeah.
How many months passed from the time that Chris Duarte was born to when Josh Primo was born?
Oh, this is – oh, man. I mean –
57.
Oh,
okay, that's Jay's.
That's a good guess. I'm going to say 62.
Okay. Mo?
I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to go 50.
66.
Wow. Wow.
5 years and 6 months.
This is like when Martell Webster and Wesley Johnson ended up on the same team, and we found out they're like 4 months apart or something like that. Like this.
Those people are in the same draft. 5 years and 6 months difference. That's like a full rookie scale contract and a half almost.
Wow.
Man. That's a shocking stat. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
66 months of difference between the back-to-back picks there. In terms of what Kevin Pritchard, like Kevin Pritchard's got to be on.
To be in Primo's defense, he probably would have been a good senior at Oregon like 5 years from now.
He would have, you know what? He would have been dope. He would have been dope for sure. Looks like Moses Moody to the Warriors. I love this pick. This might be my favorite pick outside of Book Night to the Hornets of the first round so far. Moody, as we talked about earlier, really good 3-and-D guy. Sam, like putting Moody on this team, like Moody can play now, right? We talked about Cuminga earlier of maybe he's going to take some time and shouldn't get minutes, but Moody can slide in right now, which I actually think takes a ton of pressure off Cuminga.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Moses is going to be able to slot right in as a 3-and-D guy pretty early in a similar way to what Sadiq Bey did this year. He might not put up similar numbers to Bey just because Bey got a lot more usage, but just a similar role in terms of being able to make open threes and play smart, high-level defense. I mean, look, I had heard a lot of rumors throughout the past couple of weeks that the Warriors were considering Moses Moody at 7. For them to get him at 14 is an enormous, like they have to feel right now like they have done everything they could have within this draft right now. This is a great draft by the Warriors.
This draft is drunk. Like, I don't know, like the way this draft has gone on tonight. It's wild.
No, you're 100% right. And I think that it's important to note here that all of these teams, other than maybe the Warriors, because we kind of knew the guys that were on the Warriors list, clearly did like a pretty good job of masking their intentions from the media. I'm pretty impressed right now in terms of just the expectation of what we thought we knew a little bit about, but we clearly just didn't know what these teams were going to do. Like the Spurs taking Josh Primo has totally broken my brain in a lot of ways. Like that is that is a choice that, like, Cam Thomas averaged 23 points a game playing in the same league this year. And I'm not even like a big Cam Thomas guy, but like Josh Primo averaged like 8 points a game this year in that league.
I love Cam Thomas.
Of course you do. But like,
obviously.
I love Cam Thomas. He should have gone number 1.
That's kind of where I'm at on this.
Yeah.
Like I had Josh Primo at like 35 on my board because I think he's going to take a long time to get there right now.
Man, we have a lot of surprises here in the lottery, but I wanted to talk about this, Sam, in terms, because I'm a big Jalen Johnson guy. I think Jalen Johnson's really good. I don't give a shit that he left Duke early. Like I'm in on Jalen Johnson. If you were gonna like go high upside and you're the Spurs, I thought he was a great fit for the Spurs. What am I missing on Jalen Johnson?
If you were gonna go high upside, I get that, right? I didn't think Jalen Johnson was very good this year, even in like the time he did play at Duke.
He stunk, man. I'm a Duke fan, and he was bad.
Like,
no, Duke stunk, man. Forget Duke, like
because he stunk.
No, that program's washed. Get out of here.
He's great out in transition and can make high level passing reads out there. Totally agree with that. I thought he was really bad and lackadaisical defensively. There's been a lot of talk of him being like a switchable high level defender. Look, he has the body type to do it, but it doesn't bear itself out on tape at the end of the day. And that worries me. On top of that, doesn't really shoot it well. And there are a lot of clips of him trying to like isolate onto centers this year. Like I've shared the one of Kofi Coburn on social media, and he just like couldn't blow by in an island. So I'm worried about Jalen Johnson. I'm not like an enormous fan of his. I totally get the appeal, but just not really my player type, I guess I would say.
Mo, for a guy that like Jalen Johnson, who a lot of hype, right? A lot of hype, and then a lot of disappointment. You know, a lot of people I talked to did not like the fact that he left Duke. It wasn't even so much the play at Duke; like they didn't like the fact that he kind of quit on that or decided to leave and protect his stock and protect his draft prospects, and maybe it ended up hurting them. For me, I kind of thought we were in this era of like, no, we believe in the player empowerment. We're done with this college system quite a bit. Like people were going to support that. That doesn't seem to be the case.
Can I take that one real quick? Just real quick.
Go for it. Yeah.
Think about who runs NBA teams. It's like all old white dudes.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Like
I would go one higher. I'd go a little bit different level though. I'd go, if he left Texas A&M, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal, right?
Right, but we're still pretending Duke's a great program.
Yeah, right. Duke,
okay,
Mike Krzyzewski, all of that. Like everybody kind of goes beyond that into this is the thing. There are certain programs. Like if he left Kansas, I think the same thing would have happened. You know, if he left Roy Williams in North Carolina, same thing kind of happens. When you do that, they're kind of like the college deities, right? Like, you know, if you left Tom Izzo, everybody would start immediately going like, well, if you couldn't play for Izzo, you couldn't play for Krzyzewski, you can't play for us type deal. And I think sometimes that skews the sort of just the evaluation you're going to make in the scouting department, because you're going to do heavy checking. You're going to do heavy, research on why did he leave? What's the story? And I think that's something that I don't think people fully understand. The deep background check that teams do on these guys and trying to get intel. I mean, they go. Sometimes I would hear stuff in the video room. I'd be like, we know about this?
Hey, man, I mean, Amin Al-Hassan's told stories like that was part of his job, right? In this whole process was finding out the stuff people wouldn't want you to find out about. It's what makes the movie Draft Day so accurate. It's why I ride for it. So I think Kevin Costner made a banger.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah, we have another pick in. Jay, no time to respond to that. We have another pick in. We have the Wizards at 15 going Corey Kissbert. I think that this was kind of an obvious direction, even after the Russell Westbrook trade, maybe especially after the Russell Westbrook trade. I look at him and I'm like, okay, 4-year dude. He can obviously shoot, solid score. I don't know how much of that translates to the NBA level. The shooting will. I feel like, Sam, you're a little, or you're definitely higher on him than I am in terms of like the team aspects of team defense and where he fits in on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I think he's a great shooter. I think he's the best shooter in the class. Defensively, I really worry about what he does on ball. If you go back and watch that national title game, Baylor was very comfortable attacking him.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Baylor was very, very comfortable finding him in space and trying to get him off the bounce, either to get to a pull-up or to blow by. So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that, but I think he's a smart defender. He's a little bit more athletic than what he gets credit for. I think people just look at 6'7", 230-pound white dude, and he think that like he's not a leaper, but he is like a power dunker at times. And I like the pick a lot. It's a great fit, I think, for what the Wizards need, especially if I think I saw a report earlier today that Davis Bertans may be available. If they move Bertans, they certainly need another shooter. I think they needed another shooter anyway, just because this team did not really have many last year outside of Bertans and Garrison Matthews if we remove Bradley Beal from the equation.
Yeah, I think the Wizards, obviously the Russell Westbrook trade is going to get headlines for Russell departing, but I think they've actually done a lot to fortify their wings today.
Absolutely.
Like, they got KCP, they got Kuzma, they've got Kissbert now, and this is a team that really needed to load up on 2s and 3s because they weren't big enough on the wing, and they needed that for their defense. They needed another shooter. They got it in Kissbert. I think even though they lost Westbrook today, the Wizards might actually be better off for next season after the moves they've made.
To do what? To make just the playing
to get
game?
like the 7 or 8 seed.
But why did they barely make the playing game? It's because they couldn't put a team on the court for a month.
Right.
I think that team was better than people gave them credit for. Like, that team was good when it was healthy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Zach. I think you look at everything that happened to them at the start of the season, not just the whole COVID scenario, but Russ didn't start the season well at all and wasn't healthy. You have all of that going into it. There was a lot of just moving parts and guys in and out of the lineups, no practices and everything that goes with it. You saw what they did in the second half. Now, I don't think it's like, oh, this is an amazing team. We saw what Russ did in the playoffs and everything like that. But ultimately, like, to me, with the trade, even with Kissbert, I look at the team and I go like, cool, they're just kind of the same team with different parts. Like, I don't see them getting that much higher. It wasn't like, wow, we moved Westbrook and now we're going to make a leap. And I know people are saying like, we're a much better team now. Like, no, you just got more pieces, but you're going to be the same.
Right. But I think that if it's the same as what they were when they were healthy, and granted, like, Russ was good for them last year.
He was.
Russ was really, really good for them last year, especially the last like 2.5 months of the season. Like, he was unbelievable. And he's a big reason. Obviously, Beal's great. He's a big reason they were able to go on that surge to finish the season like they did. But okay, like, let's say they're able to move Russ and still remain a team that is in the play-in tournament mix, and then maybe even a little higher depending on if teams can fall or teams climb or whatever. Like, I think that's an accomplishment. I think as long as you remain competitive, you keep building, you keep fleshing out that roster, you keep Bradley Beal engaged, right? Like, Bradley Beal apparently does not have interest in leaving right now. That's a win. The fact that we're there after 2 years.
Can we explain why? Could someone explain why Bradley Beal does not want to leave?
Hey, man, he just likes it. I don't know what to tell you. Like, he likes it there.
If I were Bradley Beal, I would have asked out like 3 years ago.
You get as many shots as you want. Like, I get it.
Yeah. I'd want to go somewhere and win. I'd want to go somewhere and have a chance. I don't know why Bradley Beal continues to stay in that situation and not request a trade.
I mean, it's the whole thing. Like everybody's saying, like Giannis won a championship with the Bucks and things like that. But look at the pieces around Giannis that the Bucks went and got this year, right? Like they went and got, Drew Holiday. They had Chris Middleton. They were a team that was on the cusp the past few years. This team has been so far away from the cusp.
Right, the Wizards have been on the cusp. They've been on the cusp of the playoffs.
That's because John Wall injured himself 9 times in a row.
I'm not blaming Beal or anything. It's just bad luck in the way these things have turned out. And it's so I just laugh at the whole thing where Beal's looking at that going okay, and now I'm looking at Kyle Kuzma going yeah, man. You're the missing piece.
Kuz is going to get his shots, right? Kuz is going to get his shots. I do want to bring this up because we had some comments there, and obviously a very touching tribute to Terrence Clark, who passed away tragically at the age of, was he 20? I think he had just turned 20 or was about to turn 20. Sam, I don't know. I don't want to do a weird thing here, but this was a kid that was beloved. Everyone loved his energy. He was a nice prospect. This was in kind of just an unbelievable loss for people that were really, really seemed touched by a teenager.
Yeah, really energetic kid, really bubbly personality. Everyone who kind of came into contact with him absolutely, had great things to say. And yeah, it's incredibly tragic. The last year just unfortunately did not go well at Kentucky for him. Had an injury, and I think had it got injured again essentially with the same injury and wasn't able to return in the way that he thought. And then declares for the draft, goes out to Los Angeles, and unfortunately gets in a terrible car accident. Would have been something in the range of a top 40 pick at the end of the day, I think. A really athletic kid that just unfortunately is going to get a chance to play in the NBA, which people who saw him when he was young, Jay will know even better than I will, because being in the Boston area, that's where Terrence is from. He's something of a I don't want to say a legend up there, but definitely a guy that was
you can definitely say legend.
Known.
No, people love. You can definitely say. So my best friend coached him when he was a freshman in high school, and so I went to a few of their games. And even at that age, he was 6'5", long as hell. He came off the bench for them, but you knew he was just going to be special. And for him, obviously he passed away way too soon. He was one of those guys who just kind of made an impact, it seemed, everywhere he went on the people that he touched. And I know from what my best friend said about him, he's just super positive. All the Celtics players, he worked out with Jason Tatum. He worked out with Jaylen Brown. He was close with a lot of people, not just on that team, but in that organization. And so it really, really hit the Celtics hard when he passed away, because of how much love they had for him, because some of those guys looked at him like a little brother who they wanted to mentor and help bring him to becoming, a longtime NBA player. And it's just so sad. Just because of how good a kid he seemed like. And it would be sad anyway, but man, it just really, really hit home because of how many people he was able to impact.
Yeah, for sure. There's no easy way to transition back to this draft after that topic, so we'll just say that we have news. The Rockets are taking Alperen Şengün at 16 after trading with the Thunder. I don't think we have the details of that trade yet, but this is a guy that that Sam, you're obviously very high on. I've seen play a little bit. I tried to deep dive as much as I could, but I'm not going to pretend to be the expert on him that you are. So why don't you tell us, do you like this pick for Houston? He's going to obviously be in the mix with Christian Wood for a little bit as the big man. What does this pick mean for Houston as they trade up for him?
Yeah, number 8 player on my board this year, and a guy that I think is probably going to score 18 to 20 points a game at some point in his career. He is that good offensively. He has that kind of touch, that kind of feel for how to find the open areas. On top of that, he's a really underrated playmaker with the ball in his hands. He can actually drive and go in a straight line, take centers off the bounce with ease. More athletic than what he gets credit for. Again, I think people feed into the stereotype of stiff European white dude, and he's not really that. Like, he threw down a 360 dunk in a game this year. Like, he can actually drive a little bit, against centers. So I look at him and I think I'm pretty in on him, if only because the production says to be in on him. Guys that are this productive overseas, guys that win MVP of high level leagues, they tend not to fail. Like, I don't
Ante
think
Zizic, prime example.
Well, yeah. Well, Zizic won the MVP that league after he was drafted, if I remember correctly.
Fair enough.
But and like Ante had like, not to get fucking in the weeds on Ante Zizic.
No, this is what
so
people have been waiting
derailed
for.
him.
Yes, and after that, we're gonna do just a brief 25-minute breakdown of Shemi Erdan, like just real quick after that.
Oh, we need it.
Yeah,
we absolutely need it. Guys that win MVPs of these leagues, like Yusuf Nurkic, Nikola Jokic, guys like that, they very rarely fail. Like, the guys that have a higher bust rate in Europe are the ones that are like borderline rotation players on good teams, or on bad teams in bad leagues, not necessarily playing a high competition level. I think Şengün offensively is pretty close to bust proof. I just don't know what you do with him defensively because of the lack of true center size and not elite level lateral quickness. He's not like a disaster there, but he's not good on that end either.
Hey, you guys!
This is the Shemi Erdan call of the
little Goonie action.
Houston is giving up 2 future first round picks.
That's a shocker. That's a shocker because Sam Presti didn't have enough picks.
Like, it's just, we're just going to keep stock. It's going to get to the point for Oklahoma City. It's going to get hard for them to get deals done because teams are literally going to be like, no, we want more of these picks. We know you're hoarding picks back there. It's going to be like, okay, hey, we're going to give you this guy and a pick. And they're going to be like, no, 3 picks. There we go. 3 picks. I think that's going to be the deal. Like, it's going to be along those lines where it's going to get interesting, where teams are going to try to start tapping into their treasure chest of picks at this point.
Yeah, I don't feel like Sam Presti is the type of guy that gives in. So I don't know if that's going to actually do anything.
Yeah, that won't go well.
Yeah.
I'm thrown off that it's 2 future first round picks. Apparently, it's not.
So this will give Houston 4 first round picks here, right? Like they'll have 2, 16, 23, 24, assuming they don't make any moves with 23 and 24.
Yeah, that's throwing me off a little bit. I know the 23 and 24 have been available-ish. Like, they're not going to just give them away, obviously, but they wouldn't mind necessarily moving those. So maybe they're going to move those, 1 or 2 of those picks.
Right.
I love the pick though. It's great value. I think that depending on the picks that they gave up, I'm not really sure what they are, and depending on how protected they are.
Right.
I think it's a totally reasonable move here by Houston to get the number 8 player on my board.
Yeah, so far we have Houston ending up with Jalen Green, predictable, and then trading up for Alperen Şengün. So you're looking at, all right, the staples of that core, at least in the short term, and projecting the long term as best we can. Şengün, Green, Kevin Porter Jr., who was a nice little reclamation project for them last year, and then Christian Wood, who was a big signing for them last offseason. You have other guys like maybe Jayshawn Tate becomes a really nice role player. Maybe Kenyon Martin Jr. becomes a really nice role player. Like they looked fantastic in their brief stints this year, I think. Jayshawn Tate was a really good story. But in terms of those, like that main 4 of Porter, of Green, Şengün, and Christian Wood, how do you think they fit together, Sam?
Yeah, there's not like a crazy amount of ball movement there necessarily, which worries me a little
I'm okay with. I'm okay with that. Like that's.
Exactly.
I hope they get Cam Thomas with 23. That's what I hope.
Going to be one of your favorites. Like Kevin Porter Jr. this year is going to be.
I love him, man. Although his jumper's really weird looking, so that's the only thing that makes me not all in on him. But I love KPJ. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, this team had very little talent coming into the night. At the end of the day, in terms of long-term pieces that you're genuinely building around, I think they got 2 in this draft. Like, I think Jalen Green is obviously one that you build around. And I honestly do believe that Alperen Şengün is a guy that could be that at some point, much in the same way that like Alexei Pokusevski, we don't know for sure what he is yet. Şengün is much more accomplished. He has a much higher floor than what Pokusevski does, but his ceiling is maybe not quite as high as Poku's, but it is very high in regard to offensive play to where he could be a 20-point per game guy that you build around. So I like it a lot. Oh no.
What happened? What happened? What is,
I don't know. I need to
no.
see it though.
All right. This is now 8, I think. 8 perk alerts.
Oh yeah.
There you go. All right. So Dayron is Dayron a clutch guy?
Does he have stock?
No, he's CAA.
Okay. So maybe he's doing a favor for
This
ESPN
isn't the
there.
sharpest take I've ever seen.
Is it possible that Perk has?
Hold on,
prop bet?
Mo. Hold on. We're gonna let that sit a little bit for what Jay King just said. Just gonna let that sit. If
Write it down in a Sharpie.
if this is,
Yeah.
it would be with a Sharpie, not in a Sharpie. In a Sharpie doesn't make any sense. So not only was it
With a
stupid
Sharpie,
joke,
and a Sharpie,
yeah,
on a
that's-
Sharpie.
Okay.
I got
All right. I'm sorry, Mo. You were gonna say. I just wanted to make sure
I'm
that
just
was
curious.
the screeching halt that it needed to be.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if Perk has a prop bet here.
How do I get shit for hokey poku but it with a Sharpie's okay? Not the sharpest take.
One, Zach. Here's the thing. And this is
Because it turned us around on the opinion.
We don't. Nobody listens to Jay.
That's true.
That's a fair point.
I ran over what he was saying when he was saying it, Zach. Nobody listened.
That's true. That's a fair point. Yeah, I have no rebuttal for that. I don't even remember what we were talking about at this point. The Houston core. Mo, what do you think of this young Houston core at this point?
No, I like what they're building. I mean, in that sense of just, Jalen Green's a guy I think that's going to be a good building block. What we saw from Porter, when he came over from Cleveland, showed real flashes of like, hey, I can be a piece for this team.
For sure,
Christian Wood was great. You're going to see what they do maybe with Kelly Olynyk and free agency and how that turns out. I feels like they kind of want to bring him back. He was kind of important for them. They're building a good young core. I don't know what's going to happen with Eric Gordon. I don't think he's going to really bring back much if they look to move him. But overall, this team's going to be bad for a little bit, but they got young guys to start building and developing. I mean, they're thinking, 4 years down the line.
Well, I mean, even more than that. Raphael Stone said, get back to me in 2030. Right, with all the James Harden picks that he got.
I love that move as a GM.
Oh my God,
put the date out there 9 years from now.
Yeah, like really, you can't
evaluate what I'm doing.
9 years,
Leave me my job for 9 years, and then let me know in 2030.
Look,
how good we are.
With all my trade evaluations and the mock drafts and stuff, I don't think I should be evaluated until 2030 as well. I think let's just keep the pressure.
I thought you were
off.
going to say that about your puns. But
those are gold. What do we evaluate them now? Yeah, gold prices.
We got another pick. We got Trey Murphy here.
Trey Murphy, love Trey Murphy. So this is to New Orleans at 17 after the trade. Trey Murphy, like I think another one of those just like this class has a bunch of 3-and-D guys, right? Is Trey Murphy more than a 3-and-D guy?
No, he's only a 3-and-D guy.
Okay.
I would say. I don't feel comfortable when he dribbles right now, much in the same way that I did not feel super comfortable when Danny Green dribbled early in his career.
But Jay's gonna be mad.
It's a very similar pick to Cam Thomas with the Phoenix Suns a few years ago, except that I think Trey is actually a little bit more athletic and a little bit better
Johnson, you mean, right?
Actually.
Oh, Cam Thomas goes to the Suns. Woo!
Cam Thomas, yeah. No.
That's too late for him.
Cam Johnson. Very similar pick to the Cam Johnson pick. Really, really high level shooter. He's going to hit 40% from 3 in the NBA. I really like the defensive ability as well. I think he has great lateral speed. He's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan. All around, exactly what the Pelicans need to space the floor around Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas now, and also, of course, Zion Williamson.
Yeah, I love 6'9" shooters. It's tough to go wrong. When you're 6'9" and mobile and can play defense and you can also shoot, we saw it with Cam Johnson. I almost said Cam Thomas too. Like everyone panned that pick, but the fact that he's tall and can shoot has made him a very viable NBA player in very huge NBA games very quickly. And so I think that Trey Murphy's skill set should translate really well.
I mean, it's just important for them, just adding more shooting on the court and just kind of continuing to spread the floor and actually have a guy who can make shots, and in that sense. And then somebody that's going to defend. Like they haven't been a good defensive team the whole way through, in Zion's run in 2 years. And this is something like, if they're going to make a leap, if they're going to start jumping up and getting into being the team everybody's hoping for and getting 20 national TV games and everything that goes with that, they got to start getting guys that are going to play some defense.
I take exception with this. I'm so sick of people complaining about the Pelicans being on national television. They have fucking Zion. They're going to be on national TV. They are. And you know what? He's fun enough to justify a mediocre Pelicans team being on there. You want to be mad about it? Get these other teams off. I don't want to see the Celtics, okay? I just don't. Like, I like Jason Tatum. I like Jaylen Brown. It's not a sexy, like, national television game anymore, okay? It's not the 80s. Like, Zion should be on national TV. All 82 of Zion, like, just put him in a little, like, picture-in-picture box for all 82 games right there in the corner on national television. Like, that's what it should be. I'm so sick of people complaining about the Pelicans. Some of these dead-ass teams we've had on TV for years. Yes, we get to watch Zion do cool shit.
I want to complain about the Pelicans now. Do we know what their vision is? Do they know what their vision is?
I don't think they do. I don't. I think they thought, when obviously Zion was going to be an impact player, and Zion is an impact player, by the way. Like, Zion's amazing. He just can't fix your team completely, right? Like,
I was going to say Zion's pretty good.
Yeah, like he's ridiculous, but, like, you know, there are some issues. I think they can use him a little bit better in terms of playmaking, which they started to do last season. I'm interested to see what Willie Green does with him. Brandon Ingram, an all-star and really good. I don't know how much they fit unless Zion kind of becomes a main playmaker and you can run some action with the two of them. If they keep Lonzo Ball, I'm all in on Lonzo Ball. I love him as a prospect. I love him, what he's added to his game. He's become a legitimately good shooter. Like, it's not just if he can shoot, like, he can shoot. He can play. Like, I'd like him to be a little bit better defensively, because I think that ability is there. But I also think it's hard to be that on that team. I think it was a better fit with Drew Holiday than Eric Bledsoe trying to be a point guard or trying to be just whatever presence they needed him to be. And so, like, I think the fit with Valanciunas is going to be super interesting. I think they just need an adult in the room. Like, if they could go sign Kyle Lowry and come through on that free agency request, like, kind of wish list there, I think that'd be huge for them, because they need that leader and that adult in the room to fix these young guys. In a similar way that Phoenix needed Chris Paul. It's not going to be that dramatic, but, like, they need that guy. Drew Holiday was that guy. They traded him, and now they need to find that guy again.
You know who was supposed to be that guy? Stan Van Gundy. And then they said, you know what? You're not. Right? We don't actually want someone. we don't actually want someone yelling at our guys. Yeah, right. If you don't want someone yelling at your guys, why did you hire Stan Van Gundy in the first place?
It was high risk, high reward.
That's why I don't get it. And I think Valanciunas, even though he can shoot threes a little bit now, he's a weird fit with Zion. To me, I would want to just get shooters, space the court, and turn Zion into your main creator. And that would be my vision for that team. And
I've got to address that comment from Sam. I'm really sorry. Not Sam Vecenie, but Sam. Yes, this one. Zion won't be the main piece in year 6. If he's not there, then yes, I agree with you. If he's not there, this dude averages 27 points a game on 60% shooting. He's gonna be the main piece.
He's gonna be pretty good.
Literally, no one's done what he's ever done. Averaging what he averages on the efficiency. Now, it doesn't mean he doesn't have holes in his game. He's gonna be the main piece wherever he goes. Like, Zion is that good offensively. He is like foolproof offensively. It's just, you need to be able to have defenders around him, and they don't have that.
And it's just you need to build a unique team around him, right? Like, you want him to be the playmaker more. You want him to have the ball more, going downhill more often and attacking. You need to build a team that works around that. The team they had this year, not so much. Right. It wasn't he's driving and kicking it out to Eric Bledsoe. Teams are okay with that. It's along those lines of, you need to start figuring out how you're going to build that. And I think they kind of stumbled onto playmaking, ball handling Zion this year. And now we're trying to figure out how to build that team. It's not going to be easy, but I think you're wrong there, Sam. I think he's going to be the centerpiece of a team. And the other Sam, not Mr. Vecenie over there looking all sharp in Australia. I think he's going to be, the centerpiece of your team, and you're going to have a good chance of winning games.
Yeah. Sam, since you are in the Southern Hemisphere, do the perk alerts go in the other direction? Is that how that works?
They actually flush left.
Okay, they flush left. I just wanted to make sure. I figured that was the case. Yeah, like with Zion, like I don't really have. I I don't even care that he's not good defensively. I know that's a shocker for me to have that opinion about a guy who scores, but I don't really care because I think his job is to set the tone offensively and let's get guys in to make up for that other shit, right? Like that's what I think of him. Sam, he has not looked like he looked like he might be a defender at the college level, but he also was like crazy imposing compared to everyone else. He's still imposing, but not in that way. And maybe that's a health thing at the NBA level. Like I don't really know.
Yeah, he looked amazing in help defensively at the college level. And I think part of it is like it's just easier to cover that floor. Like his athleticism and explosiveness, like he could just sprint around the court. Like everyone remembers that play where he came from literally across the other side of the paint and blocked a DeAndre Hunter 3-pointer somehow into like the second row. It was obscene. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. So he has instincts that I think are pretty good, but yeah, I think early on in his career, he just wasn't healthy, right? He missed the first half of his rookie season, and I think that put him behind the 8 ball. And then they switched to a new coach, which means a new developmental scheme defensively as well. And then on top of it, they're switching to another coach this year.
Right, because they hated that other
new scheme probably. So I would like to see some continuity, maybe. Let's go with from the New Orleans Pelicans to get the most out of Zion Williamson defensively.
Well, and isn't that like such the risk here? Is the scramble to find whatever that's going to be, whatever that continuity is, and the fact that it's like, oh shit, like Alvin Gentry, we didn't want him, so we'll go Stan Van Gundy, he'll fix it. No, that actually didn't work, so now we're going to go Willie Green. And now you have to get like, I don't know if Willie Green's going to be a good coach or not. Enough smart people that I talk to are like, yeah, like he's going to be good, but you don't know yet, right? And so if Willie Green isn't the guy, you're running out of time because we can hate the small market stuff and the stars and him gushing about Madison Square Garden or whatever that's going to be. But that stuff is real. There is a there's a ticking clock on that is going to go down and down.
Sergio, no, don't egg him on.
We've already done this, Sergio.
That's a great question. There are few people. Sergio, that's such a good question. Is there a good podcast that talks about bad movies that anybody here can recommend? He's talking probably about Cinephobe. Cinephobe, the podcast where Amin Al-Hassan and I review poorly rated movies on Rotten Tomatoes, and they try to ascertain, are they properly poorly rated or maybe they didn't get a fair shake? Cinephobe, produced by Anthony Mays, wherever you get podcasts. It's such a, oh man, I'm so glad that question came up because that was definitely within the flow of the conversation about the Pelicans, the continuity issues with the coaching staff, and just trying to get that structure
just like
in there.
All the damn movies you've watched.
Travolta month is over. We're now into rom-com month in August. We're watching Saving Silverman next week.
Oh boy.
Underrated movie.
Fantastic. By the way, spoiler alert, File. Great movie. Love it.
Yeah, like I'm actually kind of in. Like Saving Silverman was an enjoyable movie.
Yeah,
I've probably seen it like 8 times. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh no, that's one that definitely was like in the DVD
We need a pick to get happen or a trade.
Hey, man, it's okay.
Now we've gone off the rails.
We got one.
Yeah,
we got a pick.
Somebody's got to save me. Forget Saving Silverman. Save me.
Oh,
Trey
Man.
Jay.
Trey Man at 18 to OKC. This is higher than I thought he would go, but I'm a big Trey Man guy. I know he's the dude's a shooter.
Most of this show has gone with Zach going, I'm a big this guy, and Elvis go, of course you are.
Okay, so Trey Man, one of the best pull-up shooters in the draft. Maybe the best pull-up shooter in the draft. And a guy that can gain separation through his ability to decelerate and through his ability to change directions very quickly. I don't think he's a great passer right now. He's going to have to improve there. He's going to have to improve as a decision maker. And then on top of it, I thought he was really bad on defense this year. I thought he was really, really bad on defense.
We're not worried about that.
So
it's fine.
Gonna have to see what's going on. I did not have Trey Man as a first round grade. I had him just outside of the first, but if you're gonna take Josh Giddey, I guess like it's a good fit with Giddey and Shea on some level.
What's a bigger reach, Primo or Trey?
Primo.
I had them right around the same, so it'd be Primo.
Yeah,
but
because I even think the fit with Trey makes way more sense than the Primo fit.
Yeah, it does
with San Antonio.
Yeah. And they're really, really good at being able to develop and hold guys accountable in Oklahoma City. And I think that's what Trey needs. He needs someone to hold him accountable defensively so he doesn't just make poor decisions in terms of plays.
So now the Knicks are going to be on the clock at 19, except they're trading that to Charlotte for a future first-round pick. It might be Kai Jones. Again, we talked about Kai Jones a little bit earlier, but this is a Hornets team after getting Book Night, which, again, I love. Great pick. They don't have big men. They don't. Like, Cody Zeller's a free agent. Bismack Biyombo's a free agent. They do need a big man. I don't know that you're going to play Kai Jones right away because, Sam, the issues you talked about earlier with not a great feel for the game. But if you can have – even I think if you bring back Biyombo, right? I don't know that you want Bismack Biyombo starting for a team that's trying to make the playoffs this next season, but I think having Kai Jones kind of learn behind him, at least from a defensive standpoint, I think could be a really nice pickup.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I'll say this on Kai Jones. I heard, as well as I think you heard as well in yours, that Charlotte was considering taking him at 11.
Yeah.
I like this a lot more than taking him at 11. I had Kai Jones at 19. So we are we're at 17 of the 19 picks so far have been my top 19 players. The only two that have been off the board are Trey Mann and Josh Primo. Yeah. So in general, NBA teams, I think, are pretty much on it right now. It's a weird thing to try and figure out if this is going to work defensively for Kai Jones, because I think a lot of it is processing speed right now. He just hasn't shown the ability to process where he needs to be defensively. But you know what? You're going to see a lot of cool dunks with him and LaMelo Ball. That's for damn sure, because those guys are going to run the court. Kai Jones is probably better at running the court than any big man in this draft. So the fit with LaMelo in transition is going to be really fun.
Is there going to be a fight at the rim with Bridges and Jones for those lob attempts? Are we going to see the two of them go?
One of them's going to dunk on the other one, so it doesn't matter. It's going to be a show. Yeah.
They both sky. Like Kai Jones was a long jumper in the Bahamas coming up. And then Miles Bridges obviously is unbelievable as a leaper. Right. So
I am always skeptical of guys who played 2 years in college and were not very good either year. That may be a hot take, but I just feel like Jones, obviously he's an athlete. Obviously there are tools there. Obviously there's something maybe inside of him, but he just has a long way to go to be a viable NBA player in my eyes.
All right, so here's my issue with that, Jay, and I don't think you're necessarily wrong with that. If you've been bad at every year in college, then maybe it's not a good fit. I also look at that, and Sam, you could speak to this way better, but I'm like, yeah, he plays at Texas. I don't have great fond memories of the Texas program.
So yeah, Kai Jones this year played in probably the deepest backcourt in America. They had Greg Brown, they had Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims is a senior, was one of the best defensive big men in the country. So it was, I think, harder for him to make an impact than what you would typically see from a guy taken in the lottery. But I do tend to fall on some level on Jay's side of the spectrum here, in that it's hard for me to get over a lack of production in college whenever you're taking someone in the top 20. There have to be really good reasons for why. Mm-hmm. In the case of Kai Jones, he has a case as a top 5 athlete in this draft class, definitely the best athletic big man in this draft class, and he got to basketball late, or at least later than most, growing up in the Bahamas. So I get it. I get the upside, but this definitely does not change Charlotte's need to go sign a center in free agency. They have to go sign one still.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of Kai Jones playing right away. I'm high on him, but I don't like the idea of him getting heavy minutes unless it's just clicked for some reason, and playing with someone like LaMelo has helped him offensively enough to where his decision making is super simplified.
Don't forget about Plumlee. Plumlee's going to be there.
That's right. They traded for Mason Plumlee.
You cannot forget about Plumlee.
Lord, I forgot about
Show
that.
Us the shirt,
100%.
Show us the shirt.
Baby. Plumlee season, baby.
No, but the
world.
I mean, they might be an interesting spot for Rashawn Holmes.
Like they're going to go after Rashawn Holmes for sure. That's a great call. Like they may try to trade for Miles Turner. I've heard that. Like, they're like Charlotte is going to be very aggressive because I think you almost have to be after seeing what happened last year. I don't think you want to lose that momentum, especially if you're in the East and you can't get back into a position to make the playoffs next year like that. I think that can be kind of detrimental.
Yeah, it probably is. I would imagine LaMelo Ball wants to make the playoffs next year. I would imagine that Gordon Hayward particularly wants to make the playoffs next year. I agree with you. We have another pick, by the way.
So we have the Atlanta Hawks at 20 going with Jalen Johnson. I like the pick, but I also look at this.
I kind of love the pick.
Okay. Now you're in. Now you're in. Now you love Jalen Johnson. You're on the hype train.
I kind of love the fit because I just feel like that's just a high upside guy for the Hawks. And Trey makes everything easier for everyone around him. Like Trey is going to draw so much attention. Teams are going to be doubling him, sending people out to him out to 30 feet. And a guy like Jalen Johnson has enough skill to take advantage of that 4-on-3 opportunity on the back end. And I just think everything will be easier for Jalen Johnson in Atlanta than it would have been in a lot of other places. And he does have tools. The guy has a lot of tools. He wasn't great at Duke, obviously. A lot went wrong at Duke, but
bad program.
But he has a lot of tools.
Bad program.
That's John Shire's program now. They just signed Filipowski. Huge sign.
Well, he better not be shyer about recruiting than Mike Krzyzewski was.
You got lost there for a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of got caught up in the air, but I made the shot.
Not your sharpest fun.
A little bit.
That's not so much.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds like they're keeping the pick too, right? There was Sam is apoplectic right now. It sounded like the Hawks were going to, maybe try to package this and Cam Reddish to move up. It doesn't sound like that's happening. I don't even know what. Like even if we're getting a trade later on in some news, like I can't think, Sam, of who taken above would maybe even be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe you could make a case for Indiana because I saw that rumor, 13,
sure.
13 for Cam Reddish and 20. I would just keep Cam Reddish, to be honest. I think Cam Reddish is good at basketball. That's my crazy.
Cam Reddish, right? Baby. I'm all in on Cam Reddish.
Another guy who wasn't very good at Duke.
Right. So maybe there's a world where
bad program.
Maybe there's a world where he can impart some knowledge in terms of, hey, getting out of the Duke scheme, maybe trying to, fit in more in Atlanta. That'll help. I think Cam Reddish has always been a cleaner shooter than Jalen Johnson for sure.
Yeah.
But I actually agree with what a lot of Jay said. The Atlanta Hawks really like to be able to use that safety valve big man as a screener. Like they used Gallinari a bit as a 5 this year. And they obviously use John Collins quite a bit as a 5. And there's not too big of a size difference actually between Jalen Johnson and John Collins. So I agree. Like being able to take advantage of those 4-on-3s after teams blitz Trae Young and have to pay all sorts of advantage or all sorts of attention to him. I really agree. Like, I think that's as good of a fit for Jalen Johnson as he could have possibly found. I'm not an enormous fan of the player. I think he has to show way more defensive attention to detail. I think he has to show way more shooting, especially in this team. But I get the upside play if you're Atlanta. I think it's fine.
I think some of it, too, is just sort of insurance, too, with the whole John Collins restricted free agency, trying to figure out how that goes. Like, if you bring back John Collins, great. Now we just have more time to develop Jalen Johnson. We don't have to worry about giving him extreme minutes. Even if Collins leaves, I think you have with Gallinari, you have Onweyu, who showed some flashes in the conference finals and really throughout the playoff run. But
was that a mini perk alert there from Mo? Onweyu?
Did I say it wrong? I'm so bad.
Yeah. we got a Mo perk alert.
Mo alert.
Bam out of the bayou.
Teach me, Sam. I'm not listening to the other two. Teach me, Sam.
Onyeka
Okongwu, sorry. Yeah. Okongwu. But again, a guy that you feel like has some promise there.
I thought you were trying to talk about Wenyen Gabriel for a second. I didn't know what you were talking about.
I gotta take my hits. If I mess it up, I mess it up. But he has the ability to be the next Bill Russell. So I think it's along those lines that they could.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
absolutely.
I lost my train of thought. We're good.
Yeah, no, I don't think you ever had it, so I wouldn't worry about that. But that's at USC education right there. So good job. He went to USC. Yes, he went to USC. How do you? Good Lord,
I didn't watch USC. I watch USC football. If he played on the football team, I'd know all about him.
Let's go to an expert. Sam, who's the best player available on your board right now? Because the Knicks will be up next with 21.
Yeah, I have Usman Garuba. By the way, Usman Garuba, I believe, is represented by Leon Rose's son. So that could be an interesting one to watch.
Next year in the draft show, Mo is going to mispronounce his name. That's a fact.
No,
what, Leon Rose?
I know Garuba. Stop it, Jay.
Oh man, can we have like a minute here? Can we talk about the fashion that's going on
Absolutely,
at the NBA draft?
Yes,
I know Zach wants to.
I thought you meant our fashion. I was going to say,
hell
Sam's
no.
killing
this
it with the Stranger Things hoodie.
Plumlee jersey that's going to be turned into in a minute. You kidding me?
No, let's talk about the actual fashion.
Okay,
I would say two guys stood out to me tonight. Kai Jones with that pink suit, because Kai Jones just went obviously.
Great suit.
That thing is phenomenal. Number 2 was Scotty Barnes. I thought that white suit, flower pattern, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Here's the real number 1, Jalen Green. Jalen Green is
going to say that.
He is a can't-miss prospect. Cannot miss prospect. Superstar dripping all over him. He is the next superstar. I wasn't totally sold on him until I saw his suit.
He was wearing a suit that wasn't tailored.
The hair was just perfection.
Sure,
like the hair is unbelievable.
Great.
What do you guys think number 1?
He was wearing Shaq's suit. Like, what do you like? That suit was huge. You
After
can't bring back big
you
suits.
think Jay's going to be sitting there bedazzling jackets and things like that to try to get him a little shiny and things like that? I feel like.
Did you see Cam Thomas's liner on his jacket?
Yeah,
it's a Kobe tribute. It's like a picture of Kobe on the inside liner of his jacket.
Zach's guy, Cam Thomas.
Oh my God, he's going to score 1 million points in the NBA each season.
I saw someone tweet. Corey Kissbert looks like he came directly from a Wes Anderson movie.
He does. That's a great call. Somebody who was wearing there was someone with like kind of a light electric blue suit on earlier. It was very early in the draft. I gotta find who that was.
I'll tell you, one of the fathers brought it.
I think it was Kai Jones's dad. Yeah.
Was it Kai Jones's dad?
I'm even more in on him now.
Just looked awesome. The father coming in with the extensive drip is always a good touch. It was like when Ja Morant's dad stole the show when he was drafted.
Well, also Ja Morant's dad stole the show because Ja said that's my biggest hater. That was just a phenomenal moment. Because I feel like my dad is the most supportive person I know, but he will roast my ass in a second. Roast me in a second, especially over something I'm wearing or something I do. So I feel like I really resonated with Ja Morant and his dad. Jalen Johnson's got this
all white,
like shiny white, off-white suit. He's got the bow tie action going. This is a good look too. I like this. It's a little party down.
I like Josh Giddey's little tuxedo. He had a little blue with the black lapels. Nice little deal. I liked what Giddey had going.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. Is anyone that you looked at and you're just like, this is not doing it for me?
Well, I mean, the bell bottoms and the suit not fitting right for Jalen
Yeah, I mean, that certainly was
problematic.
You guys are so far off on Jalen Green. That was a superstar outfit. That's his arrival. He's going to average 30 per game.
What do you know about fashion?
This is a beautiful dry fit Under Armour too.
Okay.
Are you the Rock now? Like, is that what's happening?
You know, Mo was a video coordinator because he's wearing a polo. He's just wearing a polo, and he's like, "I'm going to dress up here. Let me put a polo on."
That is video coordinator outfit.
All the way. I'm not shaking my roots.
Oh, Sam wants my dad on to get a reaction to the Charlotte tee. He would just say, "Can I get one of those?" My dad would ask me for the paraphernalia, like I didn't buy this at fucking Old Navy or something. I think that's what it'd be. All
Are
right.
we the
So
4 least qualified people to talk about fashion, by the way?
100%.
Pretty close.
We might be.
I think we've got 3 of the least qualified.
I'm the most qualified then. Okay, got it.
Wearing a polo in
You're
2021.
wearing a Hornet shirt, dude. That looks like it hasn't been washed since 1984.
No, this shit's clean as hell. No, this is I don't put dirty clothes on. I may sleep in clothes too long, but I don't put a dirty shirt on. Like that's
all
not,
his dirtiness is in his hair.
No, it looks like he's about to go night
Layrite.
golfing.
Oh my god. This is Layrite
outside. I
matte
got
cream for I'm telling you, no, you got to get your hair products right. And we don't do gel anymore. Okay. So if you're using the hair gel, don't do that anymore. We don't use that. Hair gel's not the thing anymore. You want a matte
You look
cream.
like Pauly D had a stroke.
Yeah, I take that as a compliment. Are you kidding me? I fucking love DJ Pauly D. Oh my god, is he still doing a residency at the Hard Rock in Vegas? We're going. I will pay for us to go. If Pauly D is still there, we are going and we're gonna meet him. I don't care. I take that as a compliment. Yeah, I know you love Pauly D.
Oh,
You're gonna
I still
like
watch Jersey Shore Family Vacation every Thursday night.
Oh, no.
They're still going with new episodes.
Oh yeah, let's give out some grades so far. Let's give out some grades. I like that. Jason Jang has F for the Kings. With
I can't give them an F because they did get a good player. Davion Mitchell's going to be good.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's go for fit. Obviously, all right. K to the Pistons, A. Right, like that's obvious. So what about Scotty Barnes to Toronto at 4?
Yeah, not a huge fan of that one, as we've kind of discussed. I think it's a lot of what they have, and I worry about the scoring. On top of that, I would say Jalen Suggs to Orlando is a definite A.
Yeah, that's an A, right? Giddey to the Thunder, and then also I'm forgetting who else just went to the Thunder.
The guard Trey Mann.
Oh yeah, Trey Mann. Okay, yeah, I actually like that. I like that. I think I like that at 18 more than I like Giddey at 6, but I'm also a little lower on Giddey than I think most. So because he can't shoot, so I don't. He can't shoot.
Again, can't shoot. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Exactly.
I'm anxiously waiting.
You would want to play with him because he would pass you the ball, Zach.
I'd rather just bring it up myself, if we're being honest. Like I don't need someone to pass me the ball. I'll take it myself. I'm a grab and go guy.
That's we're done.
I am anxiously waiting to see where Sharif Cooper goes because I'm a big Sharif Cooper guy.
I've been following on Instagram for like 3 years. Like he's been an Instagram star forever. So I have this warped sense of how good Sharif Cooper is because all I've seen are highlight mixes on Instagram. That's all I've seen.
If you watch him play a real game, it's basically a highlight mix.
Okay, yeah. So what do we think of Sharif?
If he can become a good jump shooter, which could be a very huge if, he is going to be impossible to stop. But if he doesn't, then all the other stuff he does will be a little muted, and he'll be very small and a defensive liability.
He was working out with Lethal Shooter. If you follow Lethal Shooter on IG, he's working out with him. So I feel like the shot's gonna be fixed.
That's all it takes.
So the Knicks have moved 21 as well. So the Knicks are just punting on the first round this year.
Okay. They didn't love the idea.
Who needs a first round pick? They made it to the playoffs.
I mean, this is again.
Did you just go full Jim Mora on us here?
I did.
Oh man. Yeah, Jalen or I'm interested to see what the Knicks do here. Or the now Pistons, I guess.
Yeah, now the Pistons.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
So they got Cade. So who, like, for the Pistons, who would you be targeting here? Basically, because I mean, as Troy Weaver said this past week, like everyone's a fit. We won 20 games, right? Which is just a fantastic comment.
Yeah.
So who would you be targeting here? I know Garuba's top of your list here of guys left.
Yeah, I don't know that I love like the Garuba fit next to Isaiah Stewart. I think they do a lot of similar things. You already have Isaiah Stewart at the end of the day.
We have actually conflicting information. The Clippers, yeah. According to Shams Charania, the Clippers are selecting at 21 and they're taking Keon Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine too. I'd Keon at 21. So sure.
Yeah.
Like, sounds great. Super athlete. Absolutely one of the 2 or 3 best athletes in the draft. A super explosive vertical leaper, 48-inch vertical leaps at the combine record. Real lateral quickness, real great first step, great speed out in transition. The problem is offense. Just doesn't shoot it well, doesn't really make great decisions, not a real passer yet in terms of vision, not a terrific ball handler, but like gets to his spots because he's so athletic. I'm a little bit, he fits everything that the Clippers look for. So I get it from that perspective. They love these guys that are high effort, high motor, high energy players. So I get it. And I think that he's a high upside guy. And he's a great fit within that system. But so it's a reasonable pick. I'll be interested to see what they gave up.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be, according to Shams, that the Knicks will be at 25. So I'm sure there's more to that trade than just that. Here's how crazy athletic Keon Johnson is. I don't care that he can't shoot. I love him because he's such a wild athlete. That guy can jump. He could jump higher than Jeff Bezos just flew. Like he could, like that dude. It can soar, absolutely soar. Like he is outer space athletic. He is unbelievable with that athleticism. So I'm all in. Like they're showing his vertical leap right now. I could watch him. I could just watch him jump. I'd watch him do box jumps for an hour. Like that's how athletic he is. I think he could jump over anything at this point. I'm a little surprised. You're right, Sam. Like this is the type of guy that the Clippers definitely like in terms of the build, the athleticism, and everything. I really thought they were going to go more of a lead guard situation, and we can kind of wrap up our final thoughts on this here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that they could have used a lead there. I will say, for what it's worth, there are some teams who think that Keon Johnson can develop into that at some point. I haven't necessarily talked to the Clippers about that, but it wouldn't surprise me if you remember back when they drafted Terrence Mann, they played Terrence Mann at the point quite a bit in Summer League, and they went into the season thinking that he could be more of a backup point guard for them than what he was. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Clippers are envisioning him as something of like a combo as opposed to just like a true two, which is more where I sit on the spectrum.
So we're gonna get out of here in a second. Wait, we have another perk alert. Hold on, I was just about to use the perk. Okay, we're kidding. All right, that was a false alarm, but that's a good transition because as we wrap this up, Jay, we'll start with you. Favorite perk alert of the night?
Definitely the Scotty Barnes to Draymond Green one. That's just so outlandish. Just so outlandish. Like I watched Scotty Barnes, and I'm like, oh, he's big and long, and I think he'll probably be able to switch. Perk watches him and is like, that's going to be the smartest defender of a generation.
Yeah. Mo, favorite perk alert?
No, I don't know how it's everybody's favorite has to be Evan Mobley is Bill Russell. Like, I don't know how you can actually think. And I mean, he's been in Boston. He knows what Bill Russell's all about. And he's just going to look at Evan Mobley and be like, yeah. That's Bill Russell right there.
Boston-based announcers are all about comparing randos to Bill Russell. I've heard far worse Bill Russell comparisons.
Yeah, Greg Stevensman was the white Bill Russell at one point. Well, I like that. Sam, what was your favorite perk alert?
I'm going off the board. We haven't talked about it yet. Have you guys seen him try to pronounce Moses Moody's name yet?
No.
Hold on, that's not a tough name to pronounce.
I can do that one. That's easy. What are we talking? Like, you can do that
one? What did he say?
Like, he tried like Muzi Modus, Muzi Modi,
Muzi Modus operandus. Yeah. Okay. All right, and then last one.
That's a moosing to me.
That's a tough one. I'll
kick
go
him out. Kick Jay out. I know we're ending, but kick Jay out.
No, I like that. I actually like
Everyone
that
always wants to kick me out.
I'm going the opposite version. You know, I'm going Cuminga equals Jordan Bell. He's so down on Cuminga. Like, come on, man. Cuminga might not end up being good, but Jordan Bell.
That's tough.
That's a toughie. That's a tough one right there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We're past the 2-hour mark. We all have work to go do for this draft. There's nobody better in this business at preparing you for the draft and breaking it down than Sam Vecenie. He is an absolute legend of stuff. The draft guide that he puts out, that's hundreds of thousands of words every single year, is the best breakdown that you can get. The mock drafts are super informed. And it's not just they're going to take him or they should take him. Like, he's giving you reasons for everything. It's the best rankings. It's the best big board throughout the year. Sam, we can't thank you enough for the work you do. You actually make my job a lot easier, because I can go watch what I go and watch the players for, however long I watch them. And then I'm like, I think I see this. I'm going to go check out Sam's rankings or Sam's breakdown of this guy. And then if it's wrong, I go back and watch more. If it's right, I stop watching. And I'm like, all right, got it. Nailed it. So, Sam, no one works harder at this than you do. You're the absolute best at this in the business. And everyone should subscribe to The Athletic just for Sam Vecenie's draft breakdowns.
Thank you. That was very nice. You guys, this was super fun. Like, let's do this next year, maybe.
Tomorrow night, we'll be back. No, we're not going to be back tomorrow night. But thank you for everyone for checking this out. If you've not subscribed to The Athletic, subscribe to The Athletic. It is the best coverage of sports you will get on the internet. It is the best storytelling. It's the best podcasting. It's the best package all the way around. And it could not be a better bang for your buck. You're going to get all of Jay King's incredible Celtics breakdowns as Al Horford has returned. The return of the prodigal Al Horford is back. So you're not going to want to miss that coverage. Check out the podcast. Check out the power rankings. Check out everything as Mo tries to offer up some more horrible puns throughout the podcasting efforts.
I'm not.
Well, we're out of time. We're out of time, Mo. I'm so sorry we don't have a chance for you to respond here. Cut his mic. Thanks to everyone, and enjoy the rest of the draft night. Shout out to Mark Tatum.